Chapter 700. Hand over my man. Seems like he's being detained. The ghost face mask young lad did not even look at the bodyguard at his feet. He raised his feet and walked towards the castle step by step. The idea that the Ping family had not realized for a few generations had appeared in someone else's hands, in front of him, and he had only learned it last night. You better let me go. Han Bingning suddenly spoke out. On her back, a row of light needles snaked down her spine. Previously, there was an invisible barrier between the two of them. But this barrier was finally broken after Tang Tian gained enlightenment on the laws. The feeling of being able to harmonize with the environment, the feeling of being like a fish in water, was something that Tang Tian had never experienced before. That chasing back, that young lad is like you. On the ghost face mask, the light aura in his eyes became even brighter, and behind the mask, a sneer as sharp as a blade appeared. Bang! If not for the fact that Ping Shaoshan was extremely familiar with the spatial undulation, he would not dare believe his own eyes. The other party had actually integrated the Ping family's stealth technique's spatial laws into other techniques. Previously, he had suspected that the other party was the one who had fought with him last night, because their physiques were too similar. Until Tang Tian made his move, he immediately confirmed it, but it did not make him happy at all, but instead made him feel an unprecedented fear. He was completely shocked by the throw, his mind was completely blank. He has never lost before. Han Bingning raised her beautiful chin. Her indifferent tone had a trace of pride. Because he was the back that she wanted to follow. Countless people were willing to fight for him, countless people were willing to shed their blood for him. As long as his flag was raised, countless people would rush forward and disregard their lives. As long as his horn was blown, heroes would gather. Not good. Lin was not stupid, on the contrary, she was extremely astute. She could feel the pride in Han Bingning, the pride that came from the depths of her heart, for the figure below. The first time she met Tang Tian was in the jaded swamp sea of bamboos. Tang Tian's eyes were wide open, his body was extremely low, his hands pressing the ink-black iron rhino's head to the ground, his entire body tensed up. The scene of him going berserk seemed like it was yesterday. A gust of dark wind came. Tang Tian muttered to himself. His voice was not loud, but his words mixed with the fluttering of the flag, carried by the wind to every corner. Under the calm, it was as if a storm was quietly gathering. An indescribable pressure enveloped the entire area. His vision blurred, and then he saw a flash of saber light and the countless bubbles it produced. That ghostly face glanced at them from afar. Lin did not know if it was an illusion. The 5 guards attacked at the same time. Their momentum was incomparably terrifying. No one present saw Tang Tian's movements clearly. In that instant, the air around Tang Tian seemed to have become blurry. On the castle, Ping Shaoshan, who was watching, quivered, his face changed, his heart was at his throat. The guards of Miss Lin's residence were all elites, and they were all very strong. Every year, Miss Lin's residence would replenish new blood and recruit new bodyguards. Ping Shaoshan had tried but was rejected. The 5 people in front of him were the elites of the guards, and the leader, Bosua, had a bit of fame. That throw used spatial laws, and it was the Ping family's stealth technique's spatial laws. Lin's expression congealed. The more casual the opponent was, the more confident he was. It was a pleasure. The leader of the guard's face changed, but it was too late to stop him. A fierce look flashed past his eyes. He might as well go all out. No matter how powerful the opponent was, he was only one person. Above the castle's gates, there were spiderweb-like cracks, and in the middle was a black flag. The flag drooped downwards, and the blood-red bear looked extremely comical. But no one could laugh. Tang Tian's move had shocked the entire place. How is that possible? Did you make a mistake? The leader of the guards was experienced, and knew that he could not admit to it. What was even more strange was that there was no sound of wind, no whistling, there were no ripples in the air. The bear flag seemed to have extended over a few thousand meters, and stuck deeply above the castle gates. But the most sinister one was Bosua. His sword had disappeared from the continuous attacks. Just as the young man with the ghost mask was about to be engulfed by the attacks that covered the sky and the earth, the pair of eyes that had always been calm under the sinister and ugly ghost mask suddenly lit up with brilliance. Ping Xiaoshan, who was in the crowd, stared blankly at the bare flag, his face without any blood. The indescribable brilliance was as calm as water, and as clear as a demon. No one could see his movements clearly. The figure flashed and disappeared. He stood in his original position, as though he had never moved. The high-spirited young man was their king. Around Tang Tian, there was no one standing. With a thought, Tang Tian's body moved, and his figure suddenly became blurry. In front of him, the black flag was stuck in the city gates. The blood bear danced in the wind. It was sinister and silent. Boss Hu felt as though he had been struck by a wild beast. His throat tasted sweet, and he flew out. The 5 fingers on his right hand clenched into a fist. He punched the air in front of him, and a ripple spread out from Tang Tian's fist. The blood rain that flew towards Tang Tian seemed to have met with an invisible umbrella and exploded. I just learned the Ping family's stealth techniques last night. A brazen idea suddenly popped out in his mind. There was no place more suitable than the Sin domain for a zero-energy body. She was tall and slender with fair skin. Her blue eyes were as mesmerizing as the ocean. Her golden hair was tied up in a high bun, and she looked down from above, filled with an air of judgment. She was only 24 years old, but her mind was far more mature than people of the same age, and she was the one who made the decision to buy Han Bingning. Her leg was like a blade. With the force of a heavy axe, she slashed down on the right side of the void. A few of the guards subconsciously retreated 2 steps. The leader of the guards was the first to react, although he was shocked, but he did not forget his duty. He suppressed the fear in his heart and took a step forward, and spoke with difficulty, "Sire." Han Bingning did not say anything to Da Lin, as she disdained to explain. Tang Tian did not know that he had done it on purpose, as the castle was too far away, and it was difficult to throw it with ordinary methods. The first to charge forward were the 5 bodyguards who were blocking Tang Tian's way. "Hand over my man." The spiderweb behind him shattered, and the guards spat out blood and fell to the ground. Behind the mask, Tang Tian laughed sinisterly. Without saying anything else, he extended his arm and grabbed the bare flag. His 5 fingers grabbed onto the pole. Chi! The pole was once again pulled out from the ground. 5 figures interweaved like lightning and pounced towards Tang Tian at the same time. The red flame spear had already touched Tang Tian's waist, causing the guard to reveal a look of ecstasy. The red flame was the red lotus flame that he had comprehended from the fire laws. It looked unremarkable, but was extremely powerful, and upon contact with it he would definitely be incinerated. In the silence, slow footsteps came out. The young man wearing the ghost face mask calmly walked towards the castle gates. The 2 clashed, the red flame and the air bubble collided, and immediately exploded. The distance between the 2 parties became closer and closer. One of the guards' face turned pale, his mental defense finally crumbled, and he pounced towards Tang Tian. Da Lin was moved. "Just one person, but he has such a strong conquering aura. I have never heard of such a person in the Ursa Major Null Division. Seeing him, I can tell that he is not ordinary. Is he your commander-in-chief?" A calm and emotionless voice came out from behind the mask. The young man's upper body did not move. His footsteps were not fast, but with every step he took, everyone's heart tensed up. "Oh." Da Lin glanced at Han Bingning and was surprised. "Seems like you have a lot of confidence in him." After interacting with him for a few days, she had long grasped Han Bingning's personality. A loud sound came out, like a drum being struck. It struck everyone's heart. That guy wearing the ghost face mask. The Ping family's stealth techniques had been improved over the generations, but no one had ever succeeded in using the spatial laws that they grasped to attack. The spatial laws that the Ping family grasped could only be used for stealth and concealment, and that was the reason why the Ping family had gone through 3 generations and gradually declined. Without fighting ability, it was extremely difficult to survive in the Sin domain. The spacious West Street was dead silent. Han Bingning did not speak, but she did not mind and continued, "He knows you are here? That's right, I think your Ursa Major Null Division only has you, and that is a girl. He just needs to ask around and naturally know." He looked at the castle in the distance, behind the mask. He licked his lips. "It's too far away. Die." The calm and stern warning, the slow and steady footsteps, the terrifying ghost face mask continued to close in on them, the black flag hanging on the castle behind them, the blood-colored little bear, seemed to be watching them from afar, causing them to feel as though there was a blade on their backs. Tang Tian's hand that was grabbing onto the spear suddenly loosened, and with a casual push, the spear-wielding guard and the blade guard were no longer restrained, and flew towards the spiderweb behind them like sandbags. The darkness that enveloped him, the blade and spear auras, the insidious spiderweb that was hard to detect, was extremely clear in his eyes. Regardless of whether it was Heaven's Road or the sacred Saint Galaxy, the omnipresent energy filled the heaven and earth. Tang Tian's zero-energy body's surroundings were filled with the omnipresent interference and repulsion. He was like a drop of oil in water, unable to merge with the environment. And in the Sin domain, there was no existence of energy, there was no omnipresent interference and repulsion, so Tang Tian's zero-energy body was extremely compatible with the environment. Han Bingning did not make a sound, his eyes blurred, all of the memories that had been sealed for many years surged out like a tide. Boom. The harsh environment of the Sin domain caused the residents who had lived here for generations to feel despair. But Tang Tian felt an indescribable comfort. He was like a fish swimming in the water, free and unrestrained. The guards' actions were like a fuse, immediately causing the originally dangerous situation to completely go out of control. The other companions by his side were extremely tensed, and all of them subconsciously pounced towards Tang Tian. Tang Tian's palm that was holding onto the spear had a blurry ripple on it. The red flames that could melt anything was helpless against the blurry ripple. A terrifying force came from the spear body, causing the guard to turn pale with fright. He was unable to react in time, and was lifted up along with his spear. The impact that Ping Xiaoshan received was immense. Pa! It was still the same words, mixed with the slow but firm footsteps. The killing intent was like the autumn wind. The formless cold intent was like the autumn frost, permeating into every corner of the battlefield. A palm suddenly appeared out of nowhere and grabbed onto his red flame spear. He opened his eyes wide in anger, the power in his entire body surging. A black raindrop shot towards Tang Tian. The black raindrop had a fishy stench, it was called black rain, and was extremely poisonous. One blade and one spear sealed Tang Tian's two sides. The blade light was like a fish swimming in the water, bringing forth dense bubbles. The spear moved like a dragon, the red flames flowed, as though a red dragon was roaring with its head raised. A black illusion appeared behind Tang Tian. The threads that were hard to see with the naked eye quickly formed a large net. The guard who used the spear could not believe his eyes. His gaze suddenly became cold, the fighting intent that he had been suppressing the entire time, and the evil fire in his heart, was like boiling lava, burning through the last layer of rock and spewing out. Tang Tian moved, the light aura formed two bewitching light scars, but his body became extremely strange, and suddenly became blurry. Chapter 701. The Sin domain was the true land of exile. Genius, he is a true genius. The Mu Steel Guards were famed. After entering the Sin domain, the Mu family did not have a smooth time. They were able to establish their roots because of the generations of Steel Guards that fought and killed their way out. The group of loyal and devoted Steel Guards continued to wither, and in this generation, only Benson was left. The black-faced man's expression was calm, but his heart was in turmoil. The unprecedented focus caused Tang Tian's intuition to be extremely sharp. It was this sharpness that caused him to be immersed in the mystical world. Since he had made his move, Tang Tian had never thought of mercy. You want me to hand him over? It's not that easy. His hands and feet were ice cold, his face was pale white. Suddenly faintly discernible, suddenly tyrannical, suddenly like a gust of wind, suddenly misty, suddenly cold, suddenly sharp. If he is not dead, I truly cannot be enemies with him. Different from the excited faces around him, Ping Xiaoshan's face was completely white. The Black Benson who had not made a move for 20 years actually made a move. But Tang Tian's following transformation caused the fanatical Ping Xiaoshan to be completely dumbstruck. His unhurried footsteps were like his heartbeat, steady and powerful, and also like the heavy drums of a great battle, unhurried and powerful. Inside his body, there seemed to be something becoming restless. Tang Tian, who was immersed in the world of laws, was completely unaware of what was happening outside, and also completely unaware of the changes happening to his body. If I don't comprehend, then I will comprehend through battle. She could not help but look at Han Bingning again. Han Bingning's expression was still calm, but his gaze had never left ghost face mask. When Dalin's gaze met Han Bingning's eyes, her mind trembled. In the past few days of interaction, Han Bingning was like an ice mountain to her, especially his eyes, which were like ice crystals, causing people to be unable to get close to him. But at that moment, his eyes that were like ice crystals could not conceal his pride and fanaticism, like a mirror reflecting the light and heat of the sun. In another corner of Purple Cuckoo City, inside a dark room, a man dressed in luxurious clothes gasped, his face changed, and his figure disappeared. It's over, it's all over. His Ping Clan stealth technique? A person who was so ruthless to himself, a person who didn't leave himself any leeway, a person with such strong beliefs, a person who pursued victory so crazily and stubbornly. He had never seen such a person before. That was when Darlene was born. He had watched her grow up, and he had been guarding her ever since. What replaced it was a desperation to advance with no retreat and fight with their backs against the wall. Defeat or death. If you don't understand, you'll die. Her clan possessed a noble bloodline. Even though they had declined, the pride in their blood had never left them. If you don't hand him over, then I'll beat you until you do. Just like that, his blood began to boil bit by bit. Looking down from the sky, one after another figures soared from all directions of the Purple Cuckoo City, and with astonishing speed, they flew towards the Mu, or castle. This aura. Black Benson. If it was said that Tang Tian's previous toss had left him dumbfounded, then Tang Tian's grab made him feel that it was extremely ingenious. Inexplicably, that thought suddenly popped up in his mind. The various families of the Purple Cuckoo City had many experts, but Black Benson was the unassuming one that no one dared to overlook. Every step he took, he had comprehended something. Inside the explosion, Tang Tian's figure suddenly disappeared. She was the one who personally recruited Boss Hua and the other four, and knew of their strengths extremely well. It was because she thought that the five of them had great teamwork and outstanding strength that she entrusted them with heavy responsibilities. But the five of them actually could not even block one move from the other party. Such a powerful martial artist was definitely not a nameless person. Why have I never heard of the Ursa Major Null Division before? Could he be from the Sacred Saint Galaxy? Dalin's face kept on changing. She shook her head secretly. A gold saint from the Sacred Saint Galaxy. If he were to come to the Sin domain, his strength would be completely exhausted. Truly a lunatic. When Tang Tian grabbed onto the red flame spear, he had clearly seen it. Tang Tian's hand had grabbed onto the red flame spear, but it was a blur. For the Mu, or family's #1 expert to fight, it immediately made everyone excited. The illustrious Black Benson had become famous 24 years ago, and after 24 years of accumulation, no one dared to be certain of his current strength. In the past 24 years, no one had seen Benson make a move, and he was forever the steel figure that stood behind Dalin. Miss Dalin's family was the Mu, or family, and their ancestors were the royal family of the Foul Continent. They were exiled to the Sin domain, and the original steel guards of the royal family rejected the Honorable Martial Continent's invitation to surrender, and entered the Sin domain to protect the Mu, or family, who were no longer part of the royal family. There was no fear, no retreat, no distracting thoughts. In the entire world, in Tang Tian's eyes, there was only the silent blood-bare black flag on top of the castle's door. It was as though the blazing fighting intent was mixed in his blood, flowing endlessly in his body. Tang Tian was immersed in an indescribable and miraculous state. His body was boiling hot. His fighting intent was so intense that he was trembling, but his state of mind seemed to have been pulled out as he experienced the true sea of laws. He was like a fish swimming in the ocean, an indescribable comfort, an indescribable enjoyment. But no matter what, he would not allow Miss Dalin's dignity to be trampled on. But he knew that it was a battlefield, and it was not easy to gain anything. When the black-faced burly man appeared on the West Street, It caused a commotion. Who had ever seen such a scene before? The huge West Street was so quiet that even the sound of a pin dropping could be heard. Space was not only used to escape, it could also be used to attack and defend. The red flame spear could melt anything, but it was unable to melt space. The blurred area between Tang Tian's palm and the spear body was a thin layer of space. He took a deep breath and suppressed all the thoughts in his mind, and his gaze regained its calmness. The ghost face mask's craziness and powerful willpower made him deeply respect him. Every step he took, he had gained something. That was his willpower. After that, the Mu, or family, did not have to fight anymore. They got rid of their decline and became more prosperous. Tang Tian did not notice anything. He was immersed in the sea of laws. All the original and unmodified laws were presented to him in their most primitive form. The Mu, or family? That guy is finally going to make his move? He leapt up and landed in front of Tang Tian. Walking alone on the spacious West Street, he did not hear the moans behind him. The wind gradually blew like a horn, the violets swayed like a waterfall, like a flag fluttering in the wind. Every step he took made everyone feel as though the ghost face mask who was slowly walking forward was a different person. The black-faced burly man who had just come down from the castle stopped in his tracks. A look of disbelief flashed past his eyes. He is actually enlightening himself here. After learning the Ping family's stealth techniques for a night, he was actually able to unleash it to such an inconceivable level. Aside from being shocked, Ping Xiaoshan was also extremely excited. It was just a throw and grab, but it allowed Ping Xiaoshan to see the astonishing potential of the Ping family's stealth techniques. Is he going to fight to the death? Tang Tian sensed that there was someone in front of him, and immediately became alert, and broke away from the miraculous state. He was not satisfied to be able to enter such a miraculous state of enlightenment. It was something that could only be discovered and not sought. If he had more time, he would have gained even more. If you can. It was not easy to survive in the Sin domain, especially for the people at the bottom. They had to struggle with all their might to obtain the qualifications to survive. He had initially thought that he had seen through everything, and had long seen through the world, and was indifferent to it, but the scene in front of him had completely toppled all of his previous knowledge. He took a deep breath, the look of shock in his eyes disappeared, and what replaced it was ruthlessness and decisiveness. He had seen many talented people, and at the same time, he knew that there were many hard-working people, but it was the first time he had seen someone who had the guts to walk leisurely on the battlefield and peacefully gain enlightenment. Tang Tian's eyes dilated. He suddenly stepped forward with his left leg, causing the surrounding air to explode. Quickly run. He is truly dead set on me. De Lin bit her lips, but her heart was filled with unwillingness. Ben Sen's experiences could be said to be legendary. He had received the strictest grooming since young, and at the age of 14 he traveled far and wide, fighting in the various cities of the Sin domain, creating the name of Black Benson. At the age of 22, he returned to the Mu, or family, with a body of scars, and took up the position of a steel guard. Senior Gui Wu will never think that there would actually be a place like the Sin domain in the world. His gaze landed on Ben's senator previously. His body was boiling with fighting intent that was suppressed by the state of enlightenment, but at that moment, it had lost all of its restraints and erupted like a volcano. Tang Tian's eyes suddenly turned red. The surging fighting intent instantly swallowed the calmness that he had gained enlightenment in his heart. How can a person's temperament change so much? His temperament was constantly changing. At that time, the Mu, or family, was in a precarious situation, and when they announced that Ben Sen had returned to the family and become a steel guard, the Mu, or family situation immediately stabilized. In the straw hut, the long-haired man stood up. He opened his palm, Pennsylvania, the sword on the ground flew into his hand, and he soared into the sky. Step by step he changed. For some reason, Ghost Face Mask, who was walking slowly on the West Street, the fluctuating aura suddenly disappeared in the black-faced man's eyes. Ping Xiaoshan's mouth did not close. This is my battlefield. Before Benson could finish, the aura of the young man in front of him changed. It was easier to gain enlightenment on Laws in Heaven's Road than in the Sacred Saint Galaxy, because the energy in Heaven's Road was much thinner, and laws appeared much more easily. In the Sin domain, there was no energy at all, and laws appeared in front of Tang Tian. Most of the people in the Sin domain gained enlightenment on laws, because it was much easier to gain enlightenment on laws here as compared to other places. Who is he? That's right, in the eyes of others, the Sin domain was a land of exile, but in his eyes, it was a true land of treasures. What's going on? It was a sea of laws, but it was different from the sea of laws in the forceful subjugating bead. The sea of laws was real, it was even more chaotic and disorderly, but at the same time, it was even more balanced and stable. Above the castle, Lin, who had maintained her composure the entire time, had a change in expression for the first time. Lin tilted her head and signaled to the black-faced man who was standing at the side. The man nodded and quietly left. How audacious! But no one dared to do anything to the Mu-Er family. Benson was the steel guard and protected Lin. Chapter 702. That slight opening was enough for him. His aura was locked on. The intense sense of danger caused all of the hairs on Tang Tian's body to stand. In the next moment, a shadow cut into the red fist aura. If Tang Tian was a nameless person, he would feel that he had some value. But in the eyes of an existence like Ben Sen, he was just an ant, and had no value. It was actually Boss He's most proficient shadowless sword. Dense clashing sounds came out. The formless sword came out from the void. The sparks from the collision were faintly discernible. The frequency of the attacks from both parties were extremely high, and the speed of their changes were unimaginable. In the time it takes for a spark to fly off a flint, there were many changes. Adding them together, Tang Tian had also become extremely terrifying. Dark spiderweb. Both parties exchanged over 100 moves, but the opponent's techniques did not overlap at all. The laws that he had gained enlightenment on seemed to be endless. The imposing bellow was like a heavy drum that fiercely struck everyone's heart. It was such a rare opportunity, and everyone opened their eyes wide, afraid to miss out on anything. Too terrifying. But they did not know that it would cause his physical strength to be consumed even faster. The same level as Black Benson? What a joke. Truly a boorish fellow. Now is the time. Tang Tian's speed was extremely fast. In the blurred afterimages, the ghost face was extremely strange, and the originally cold and bewitching pupils were blazing with fighting intent. Even the airwaves that were rushing toward him seemed to have become scorching hot. The important thing was not what law you knew, but how deep your comprehension of the law was. As long as your comprehension was deep enough, one law could break 10,000 laws. That was the logic behind it. In history, there were many people who had gained enlightenment on common laws and became powerful martial artists. Benson squinted his eyes. The ice crystal-like blades that coiled around his wrists suddenly shot forward. Tang Tian's personality was unyielding and tenacious. The stronger he met, the stronger the opponent was. The stronger the opponent was, not only did it not scare him, but it made his fighting intent even higher. Everyone who was watching the battle were all intoxicated. A powerful martial artist like Benson would not easily make a move. Whoever dared to challenge Benson would mean that they would break off all relations with the Mu-Er family. But when he lowered his head to look, his face turned pale. Wherever the chi waves swept past, the smooth surface of the West Street was left with countless tiny marks, as if a sharp steel brush had brushed past. Come on. The battle at West Street had reached its climax right from the start. The wind blade in Benson's hand changed according to his will, suddenly dispersing and gathering. Tang Tian suffered quite a few losses, leaving 7 to 8 scars on his body. He looked at the two people fighting in the distance and could not believe his eyes. Tang Tian was actually not at a disadvantage. Although he was defeated by Tang Tian last night, he naturally knew that Tang Tian's strength was extraordinary. However, what he thought of as extraordinary was that Tang Tian was only slightly stronger than him. It was precisely because of this powerful body that those heterogeneous nomological laws could erupt with astonishing power. Benson's mind was calm. He secretly accumulated his strength. He was waiting for the moment the enemy's strength was exhausted to reveal a flaw. Benson squinted his eyes. He did not move. The enemy was filled with determination and craziness, and had long displayed it in the Enlightenment Dao at West Street. He was an opponent that did not need to doubt his willpower. The enemy seemed to have all sorts of laws, but it was extremely heterogeneous, and it was difficult to grasp the true essence of it. All of these changes were just small tricks. To Benson, the enemy was already on the wrong path. After fighting for such a long time, he was extremely clear of Ghost Face Mask's strength. As long as that flaw appeared, he had the confidence to kill him in one strike. It was the first time Benson had met such a strange and difficult opponent. All three of them were Boswa and the rest's consummate techniques, and in just one exchange, he had actually learned them. Although he was still young, but he was able to grasp the essence of it, and his changes were extremely fast, causing people to be unable to defend against it. Behind the mask, a smile appeared. The unyielding could not last for long. That was a logic that any experienced veteran knew. In the sky not far away, a few people were watching with rapt attention. The surging air currents were extremely sharp. They whistled past the West Street, causing countless of violet orchids to shatter, and then being swept up into the sky, colliding with another ball of air currents, scattering down like rain, enveloping the entire West Street. The West Street had become the battlefield for the two of them. The ground was filled with craters, rocks and stones were scattered everywhere, occasionally being swept up by the air currents, producing sounds like raindrops. The stone walls on both sides of the street were collapsing. The violet orchids that were like waterfalls were already riddled with holes, and not many of them were left. The wind blade in his hand melted like ice, transforming into a formless wind. Benson had already started to consciously conserve his physical strength. The majority of the clashes between both parties were head-on, which meant that both parties would consume a lot of physical strength. But Ghost Face Mask seemed to not know fatigue. He was unable to maintain an all-out attack for a long time. Once his physical strength was exhausted, it meant that he had lost the greatest initiative in the battlefield. In terms of strength, Tang Tian was definitely not Benson's opponent. The opponent's wind blade was extremely profound, and was not something that Tang Tian, a rookie who had just peeked into the realm of laws, could compare to. But Tang Tian had once again found his original heart. His state of mind was flawless. His fighting spirit was like a fire, burning to the extreme. He had trained in the zero-energy body for a long time, and the Sin domain had an innate affinity with the zero-energy body, allowing him to be like a fish in water. Adding the enlightenment he had just gained, he was extremely agile. Benson's aura surged. He raised the wind blade in his hand up high, causing the surrounding wind to stop. The thunderous roar seemed to reverberate endlessly in the valley. Ping Shaoshan saw the opportunity quickly. With a flash, he jumped 70 m high and dodged the chi wave. Come on! Come on! Bang! But the scene in front of him made him unable to smile. Tang Tian's display of tyrannical strength was enough to prove everything. Unknowingly, his mentality had changed. He suddenly thought about his own thoughts and became anxious. His wind blade could easily shatter the red flames, but the powerful force caused his mind to tremble. It was the purest form of physical strength. Tang Tian did not feel anything. His eyes were fixated on Benson. He roared and punched out. The bright red flames enveloped Tang Tian's fist. The red flames surged like a dragon's head roaring. Xiaofeng! The red flames dissipated, and a dark and lifeless black line appeared out of nowhere, coiling around Benson's wrist. On one hand, it was because the fighting intent that had been brewing in his body for a long time had nowhere to be released. Adding the suppression from the state of enlightenment, it was already on the verge of exploding. As long as there was a spark, it would explode. But on the other hand, it was because of Benson's strength. With a cold snort, the wind blade in his hand became formless, as though it had disappeared in the air. The ghost face mask remained cold. The young man's pupils became dim, as though he had exhausted all of his strength. Benson's eyes constricted. The fists formed from the red flame spear. Benson remained calm. He could feel that the opponent's attacks had become even more ferocious, but he knew that it was the final radiance of the setting sun, the sign of the opponent's physical strength being exhausted. The fear brought about by the exhaustion of physical strength made the opponent want to quickly end the battle. Benson originally wanted to say a few words, The various families in the Xin domain were all big families, and if they did not agree with each other, they would draw their swords and be viewed as ordinary people. Ben Sen's wind blade was not some profound law, but in his hands, it was extremely powerful. Even with Ben Sen's rich battle experience, facing such a strange person, he was still flustered. Such a degree of law was naturally unable to restrict Ben Sen. Ben Sen snorted. The wind blade in his hand immediately dissipated, transforming into 10 fine blades. Like ice crystals, they coiled around his wrist, causing the spiderwebs to crumble. If it was just that, it would only make him flustered. Other than time, space, life and death, the three most fundamental laws, the other laws did not have much of a difference. On the battlefield, Tang Tian had started to suppress Ben Sen. Under his torrential attacks, Ben Sen was forced to retreat step by step. But veterans with some battle experience would notice that although Ben Sen was retreating, his footwork and rhythm were not messed up at all. Ben Sen retreated slightly, his calloused palms opened up, and the air around his palms flowed like mist. Bang, he suddenly clenched his 5 fingers, a shadow appeared, and the blade hilt appeared in his hands. Bang! Ding ding ding! Suddenly he sensed that the opponent's leg blade had a momentary pause. At this stage, who would care about a street? He did not have any intention of dodging. Facing the shadow, he twisted his body in the air and raised his right leg. Like a heavy axe, he fiercely chopped down. Tang Tian's eyes constricted. The shadow was as fast as lightning, but Tang Tian's fighting intent was at its peak. His body was like a volcano, with countless of magma surging, ready to erupt at any time. Like 2 rays of lightning, they chased each other. Ben Sen's law was extremely unique, gathering wind as a blade. After being immersed in it for 10 years, his blade technique had already gained the charm of the wind laws. Sometimes it was light, sometimes it was heavy, sometimes it was violent, sometimes it was sharp, it was ever-changing. Chi, a blood arrow shot out from Tang Tian's ribs, transforming into a blood mist. Before it could even disperse, it was dispersed by the chaotic flow. Tang Tian was completely berserk. Until now, Ghostface Mask's aura was still blazing like fire. He was like a regiment of flames that would never be extinguished. It was as though the injuries did not affect him at all, as though his physical strength was not depleted at all. The explosive sound of the collision resonated throughout the entire Purple Cuckoo City. He roared in his heart. The 2 powerful forces clashed, and a visible shockwave exploded out, sweeping across the West Street. But, do you think you can win just by relying on your willpower? Too naive. The shockwave was as solid as a wall, whistling as it came crashing down. Everyone's expression changed, and they all activated their own defenses. The stronger ones only felt their bodies shake, while the weaker ones staggered back 7 or 8 steps before they could stop. But to be able to fight with Ben Sen for so long, the other party did not only rely on his mixed and shallow laws, but also his extremely powerful body. Clang, the sound of a blade being unsheathed, a figure flew up and slashed at Tang Tian. Blindly attacking was definitely not a smart move. No matter how astonishing his physical strength was, after a period of time, he would definitely be exhausted and weak. Ben Sen was like an experienced hunter, patiently lying in wait, waiting for an opportunity. Ping Xiaoshan, who had a pale face, floated back for another 30 m before stopping. Since young, Ben Sen had received extremely strict grooming, and his body was extremely strong, far surpassing ordinary people. But after personally fighting him, Ben Sen knew that his body was extremely strong, and it was truly unfathomable. This person's fighting intent is truly high. The swordsman muttered. He floated in the air, quietly watching the intense battle below. If that's all, then there is nothing to fear. Inside the purple rain, 2 figures were like 2 bolts of lightning, frantically chasing and clashing. Ben Sen's aura immediately changed. The originally calm and collected figure suddenly became high-spirited and angry. Chapter 703. It was a pure sword concept, using the coldness of the glacier, yet not losing the original intent of the sword. The swordsman could not help but reveal a look of admiration. Many swordsmen started off by pursuing power and variations, adding in more laws. They could increase their power at the start, but it was extremely heterogeneous, and in the later stages, it was extremely difficult to improve. Tang Tian, who was frustrated in his heart, forcefully turned his body and waited. A gust of wind blew past her body. Bang! The blood mist exploded once again. The power was released. Suddenly, a hand extended out from behind and grabbed onto Han Bingning's arm. Han Bingning's body froze. Her aura immediately became like an avalanche, disappearing without a trace. The formless wind was silent. No, how? How did he find out? The man in luxurious robes who was spectating from afar was moved. He did not sense any undulations. He could not help but glance at the swordsman in the distance. The swordsman's face also revealed a look of surprise. Another 2 streaks of blood appeared on Tang Tian's shoulders. The red flames turned gray. 2 blood arrows shot out from Tang Tian's legs, causing 2 streaks of blood to appear in the air. The smile on Tang Tian's face disappeared. He exhaled, he grabbed onto Dalin, and using all of his strength, he threw her in another direction. The surrounding scenery quickly swept past, but Tang Tian's gaze never left the figure on the tower. Ben Sen's palm that had opened up unknowingly suddenly closed. Dalin's face was pale white from the sudden change. From her position, she could see everything clearly. The gigantic explosion had completely destroyed the West Street, and the ring-shaped shockwave swept out in all directions. Dalin's screams continued to sound out, causing Ben Sen's aura to drop. He forcefully turned his body in the air and chased after Dalin. How is that possible? Was he pretending all along? Ben Sen's face changed. Before he could react, the wind in front of him suddenly exploded. What was left was a group of nervous guards who looked at each other. No. Ben Sen's roar, even in the roaring shockwave, caused everyone's heart to tremble. The ghostly face that alternated between green and black was silent, but the cold light in its eyes became wild and blazing. Amidst the flying blood mist, the young man stretched his body and twisted his waist in midair. He seemed to be unaware of the increasing number of wounds on his body. He actually found the vent of little wind. With her as the center, the white frost quickly spread out along the ground. She stood proudly. There was no sword in her hand, but the sharp and cold sword essence soared into the sky. Tang Tian quickly pulled out all the light needles on her back. For some reason, the swordsman's breathing suddenly stopped, and he subconsciously tightened his grip on the scabbard. Everyone was shocked by the scale of the explosion. The terrifying shockwave was rampaging and the entire West Street was razed to the ground. The onlookers were doing their best to resist the shockwave. At this time, no one noticed Tang Tian flying out. The scene seemed to freeze. His body twisted like a bowstring, full of power and beauty, as if he was about to explode in the next moment. The bloody mist that filled the sky caused this scene to be filled with a breathtaking beauty. It had an unparalleled visual impact. Only those who could stick to their hearts could reach the pinnacle of the sword Dao. He did not look at Grimace. Grimace was no longer as breathtaking as before. The current Grimace was like a lamb waiting to be slaughtered. When he would die would depend on when Ben Sen would tighten the noose around his neck. Tang Tian punched out, causing red flames to form. Who would have thought that the rough-looking black Ben Sen would do such a thing? The surging guards all had a change in expression, and all of them stopped in their tracks. Bang! The shockwave fiercely struck his back, the wounds on his body suddenly burst open, and blood flowed out. Tang Tian's eyes almost turned black. He groaned and endured the pain. Wait a minute, that is? The man in luxurious clothes was shocked. He stared intently at Ben Sen, as expected of Black Ben Sen. This time, the Mu, or family's reputation will rise once again. The Mu, or family had underestimated Ben Sen's strength. It is time to kill you. Goo goo goo, the two of them rolled out for a few meters. The sinister ghost face mask was extremely sinister. His 4 limbs spread out. Like a large net, he pounced towards her at an astonishing speed. Tang Tian shook his head and stood up, feeling dizzy. Han Bingning's expression was still ice cold, but her neck was flushed red. Ben Sen's heart was filled with shock. His small wind, his killing intent was hidden and invisible. It was as gentle as water, Even the undulations of laws were dispelled by it. Such a killing technique was definitely not something that Ghost Face Mask could sense. Wait a minute. Suddenly, a small black dot grew bigger in her vision. Not good. When Tang Tian realized that something was wrong, the two of them were already unable to stop. He did not resist the force, he was unable to resist at all, and his body was flung out. Behind Ghost Face Mask, Tang Tian revealed a pleased smile. He used his hands and feet to hug onto Han Bingning, but in the next moment, Tang Tian's expression froze. Han Bingning's entire body was restricted, and she was extremely weak. That is not Hong Yan. Die. Tang Tian's speed was extremely fast, leaving behind afterimages in the air. I never thought of that. There's no more time. Anger. Ben Sen's expression also changed. The swordsman was even more direct. He turned and prepared to leave. He had already lost interest in the battle that had lost all suspense. Is Ben Sen already so strong? In Sin Domain, the strong were respected, and a strong martial artist was able to support an entire family. The Sin Domain originally did not have many people, and after many generations of cruel elimination, only half of them were left. With such a small population, the Sin Domain was unable to walk the path of armies like the sacred Saint Galaxy. The use of strong martial artists became even more prominent. The awakening of the null flames, the disguise of the null flames as red flames, fusing with his comprehension of conciseness, he threw out all of his trump cards in one go. There was no brilliance, no whistling, even the air did not ripple. They were able to do it, but to be able to conceal the undulations of laws, that was too terrifying. There was only one way to block such an attack, and that was a defensive domain that had no blind spots. Han Bingning's face turned cold. He did not make a move, but his entire aura surged. Tang Tian jumped in fright. He turned to look, only to see a small black dot pouncing towards him at an astonishing speed. He could imagine that Ben Sen was like an enraged lion, a slightly black lion. The red fist flames were like a regiment of flames that fiercely struck the wind gap. In the next moment, his eyes constricted. Tang Tian's fist actually struck the air in front of him. Tang Tian grabbed onto Han Bingning's arm with one hand and the black flag with the other. He took a step forward, and the two of them immediately became blurry and disappeared. The wind gap of Gale had always been changing. How can the enemy find it? In that moment, countless thoughts flashed past Ben Sen's mind, but he immediately calmed down, although he was confident that Gale's wind gap was well hidden, and the enemy would not be able to sense it. But he was still clear of the weakness of his technique, so he had meticulously made a plan for the wind gap. De Lin was like an arrow that left the bow, flying towards Tang Tian's left side. Chi. Tang Tian's entire body was covered in blood. In the blink of an eye, his body was covered with more than 10 wounds. Not good. The luxuriously dressed man's thoughts were more focused on the undulations that would be caused by the battle. Ben Sen's powerful performance would definitely break the balance of Purple Cuckoo City, and there would definitely be a storm. De Lin's mind was blank. She was completely scared silly. She felt as though she was going to be devoured. I caught him. The scale of the explosion was unprecedented. The terrifying shockwave swept past Ben Sen, causing him to feel a wave of energy that could topple mountains and overturn the seas, causing him to lose control of his body. Bang, he was directly flung out. Will I look more handsome if I sing at such a time? Or should I raise my arms and say, "Godlike young lad, go go go"? What should I do to make myself look more powerful? If Ling Su were to see this, he would definitely be in awe of me, right? If not, a Maori, that barbaric bull, would be able to see this. A burst of extremely cold energy caused Ben Sen's face to change. His body became slightly numb. His heart was overwhelmed with shock. What law is this? Tang Tian shot forward and grabbed onto De Lin, who was completely stunned. Ghost Face Mask is finished. He only had time to realize that something was wrong when Ghost Face Mask's fist had already been released. The swordsman who was watching the battle in the sky could not help but exclaim out. His eyes lit up. As a swordsman, he had a higher sensitivity towards sword concepts and was even more interested in them. Tang Tian, who had released his fist, was as calm as a different person. He floated silently in the air, The green and black ghost face mask remained silent, the blazing light aura in his eyes dimmed down, and what replaced it was a silent determination that was as deep as the abyss. Tang Tian heaved a sigh of relief. He used his hands and legs to crawl to the door and pulled out the flag. The blood bear on the black flag had a face of ridicule, laughing at his sorry state. No matter how Tang Tian looked at it, he felt that it was not pleasing to the eye. No, I have to get Han Bingning to draw it again when I return. The chi waves whistled and crushed toward them, as if the mountains were collapsing and the earth was cracking. The air around Tang Tian suddenly became sluggish. An intense sense of danger enveloped Tang Tian's mind. Red flame spear? Or this technique? Ben Sin squinted his eyes. It seemed like the opponent was truly at the end of his rope. The laws he used previously were not repeated, and he was actually using the same technique. Seeing that, Ben Sin's eyes were about to pop out. It was not forced at all. It was as though the fist was formed naturally. It could not be any more natural. It was like a flood that broke the dam and surged forth with an unstoppable force. The man in luxurious robes had a serious expression. At their level, the undulations of laws could not be hidden from them. But Ben Sen's attack was formless, and did not have any undulations. It was for this fist. The young man behind the mask twitched his mouth, so painful. The two astonishing powers clashed without any fanciful movements. The wind that originally controlled the flow of air lost control and caused a chain of explosions that sounded out. Bang, bang, bang. The feeling of power being overflowing caused the man in luxurious robes and the swordsman's faces to change. Suddenly he sensed something and turned around. Impossible! The guards of the residence seemed to have awoken from a dream. They saw that Tang Tian had to use both his hands and legs to pull out the flag, and knew that his physical strength was exhausted. All of them were roused, and surrounded him like a tide. The ghost face mask that was surrounded by the formless killing intent, its dim eyes suddenly became extremely bright. Chapter 704. Aren't laws like the martial technique system? The gigantic martial technique system was also like a gigantic and lush tree. But all of the martial techniques, after being dismantled, traced back to the source, they all returned to the fundamental martial techniques. Tang Tian was naturally not discouraged. The difference in realm was never the only factor that determined victory or defeat. If not, he would not have been able to snatch Han Bingning away from the family. Because he suddenly realized that when he deduced from high to low, the fundamental martial techniques had a few minute mistakes and omissions. Voices could be faintly heard from outside. That was also why old Granny Shui saw that Tang Tian's body was so strong and decided to buy him. Furthermore, why must I adhere to laws? The laws themselves existed. Every punch he threw out contained the laws within it. She sat cross-legged and recovered her strength. Tang Tian placed the mask and the flag into Han Bingning's bosom. Find a place to hide them. For example, Ben Sin, he used the power of the physique to control the wind blades. Black Ben Sin's body was tempered to become extremely strong. Tang Tian was deep in thought. He suddenly started to train in fundamental martial techniques. These two things are currently very eye-catching. If anyone sees them, it will be troublesome. Did my brain get caught in the door? Forget about the mask. I actually used a broken flag to parade around the city. The crucial point is, it is so ugly. Sigh, I have lost so much face. Tang Tian pinched his fingers and pondered. Although the null flames were powerful, but its might was greatly reduced in the Sin domain. Because there was no energy here, the forceful energy destruction effect was not very useful to him. But the zero energy body could be improved, which meant that the power of his physique could become even stronger. She was a quiet person, although her strength had been sealed for the past few days, but she did not give up. She trained in the zero energy body as well, and the uniqueness of the Sin domain was immediately sensed by her intelligent mind. She quietly observed and sensed the laws around her. Tang Tian's heart suddenly moved. Tang Tian's fundamental martial techniques had a rare change. Tang Tian shook slightly, and the scabs on his body dispersed like smoke. His exposed skin was no different from before. That's right, fundamental martial techniques were the starting point of all martial techniques. However, the reason why there were still high-level martial techniques was because they needed to change. These changes were derived from fundamental martial techniques, but if it was not deduced, these changes would not be known by others. She knew that today's battle was just a prelude. When Tang Tian took action, he would not stop until he was dead. Her crystal-like eyes flashed with unswerving determination and agitation. Wasn't this her dream, the chance to fight alongside him? The contest between energies was still a contest of quantity. More abundant and denser energy was always the key to victory. The confrontation of laws was a confrontation of quality. The deeper one's understanding of the laws, the greater the power. For example, the spatial law. The spatial law of the Ping clan's stealth art had endless transformations. Tang Tian thought of a few ways to use it, and the effects were pretty good. But Tang Tian also knew that it was convenient for him to use these laws, as he was taking advantage of the zero-energy body. But his understanding of every single law was very shallow, it was extremely complicated, and could only be used to bluff. Ben Sen's Windblade was not considered an unorthodox law, but it could easily dissolve all of his attacks. He suddenly thought of a question that he had neglected in the past. Fundamental martial techniques were the origin of all martial techniques, so why were there still higher-grade martial techniques? If the origin was even more powerful, wouldn't he just directly train in it? There were piles of goods everywhere, but no one was around. Han Bingning relaxed. It meant that they were at least safe. He was completely immersed in his fundamental martial techniques. The power of qi and blood in his body was extremely weak, and did not have any brilliance. If a powerful martial artist were to see it, they would be shocked to realize that the fundamental martial techniques in Tang Tian's hands had suddenly become unpredictable. Why are there still such high-grade martial techniques? High-grade martial techniques have even more variations, and are able to use even more energy, and become even more powerful. Han Bingning turned to look at Tang Tian. Tang Tian's expression was somewhat awkward, but luckily he was wearing a mask, and no one could tell. He was cursing the two ladies in his heart, to actually speak ill of the godlike young lad behind his back. You two assholes. Upon thinking of that, Tang Tian became extremely excited. If that thought could be realized, then it would be too powerful. But he quickly calmed down, although the thought was good, but to him, it was impractical to turn complicated into simple. One needed to understand what was complicated. An indescribable feeling started to grow in his heart. Tang Tian nodded his head at Han Bingning, then quietly pushed open the warehouse door and left. His fundamental martial techniques had been tempered thousands of times, and had reached the pinnacle, and had been washed clean. Now that she had regained her freedom, with the impending battle, she removed all distracting thoughts and focused on training. What is the pinnacle? She had finally caught up to the back of the person she was chasing after, and her mood was extremely calm. Tang Tian, who was in a daze, did not notice that his surroundings were gradually forming. In Sacred Saint Galaxy's Heaven's Road, laws were often used to move energy, allowing the energy to be more efficient and powerful. But if I already know about these variations, can I assimilate them into my fundamental martial techniques? When Han Bingning saw the familiar face, her state of mind calmed down. All the worry and fear that she had for the past few days had all disappeared. Thinking about the battle, even someone as cold as ice like her could not help but be moved. Such a huge commotion. God, will the entire city be destroyed? That scared me to death. Ben Sen's enlightenment on laws was much more powerful and profound than Ping Xiaoshan. I can use spatial laws to deal with the red flame spear, but in front of Ben Sen's wind blades, it is useless. But it was not the time to speak. He lowered his voice and said, "You hide here for a while, I will come over tonight." Counting it, Tang Tian had already seen 3 completely different martial technique systems. Heaven's Road, Sacred Saint Galaxy, Sin Domain, all 3 were different. The Sacred Saint Galaxy was filled with dense energy, and as a natural saint, their usage of energy had reached an unfathomable level. The Sin Domain was the complete opposite. It did not have any energy, and laws were like fish in the water, clearly visible. Heaven's Road was in between the two. With a suitable concentration of energy, it gave birth to a mystical spirit. Fundamental martial techniques were the starting point of all martial techniques, and also the source of all martial techniques. Tang Tian knew that his zero-energy body had advanced a step further. Without any energy, the pure power of the physique was even more vigorous and pure. In the future, as long as Tang Tian's vitals were not injured, his wounds would naturally heal. Tang Tian, who was pleasantly surprised, started to reminisce about the battle. It was his first time fighting with a Sin Domain martial artist, and he had gained a lot. He had to admit that the Sin Domain's martial techniques had opened up a brand new path and directly pointed to the laws themselves. The martial techniques in Tang Tian's hands started to change. All the martial techniques that he was proficient in, all of them were unleashed by his hands, and he tried to understand the changes. He had trained in many martial techniques before, and after a round of practice, he gradually understood them. "Shu, lower your voice. Sister Ming Zhu and young Master Qin just went to watch the show. They should be back soon." Han Bingning only felt that the indescribable undulations binding her body had disappeared. She felt extremely relaxed, and her vision turned dark. But with Han Bingning's eyesight, the darkness did not affect her at all, and she looked around cautiously. Luckily, the Xue family treated their servants generously and had prepared many sets of clothes, although they were made of coarse cloth, but Tang Tian did not care. From fundamental martial techniques, he had gained enlightenment on the Tao of conciseness, which could not be called a law, but more accurately, it was a way of thinking towards laws. But to Tang Tian, it was the most suitable path. Do laws also have fundamental laws like fundamental martial techniques? The problem now was, in the large riverbed, there were countless of stones, and choosing which stone was the biggest problem. After changing his clothes, Tang Tian realized that the wounds on his body had already started to form scabs. That's right, it's like thunder. These transformations do not exist in fundamental martial techniques, it's just that you can't see them. Only when you have trained in high-level martial techniques will you understand the possibilities and transformations that exist. That's right. That brat is too lazy. He is guarding the warehouse, but he actually sleeps like a pig. When young Master Qin came, he was actually snoring. Didn't you see how bad Sister Ming Zhu's expression was? Tang Tian suddenly started to train backwards. Starting from high-level martial techniques, he started to train step by step. Every law was not pure, they had many branches, and when they fused with other laws, they would form brand new laws. Laws like space, time, life and death, all of these laws were like large and lush trees, with trillions of branches. Laws were the laws of the heaven and earth. Laws themselves did not have any power, they were just a trick, and grasping the trick would allow you to save energy, but if you did not even have the initial power, no matter how deep your understanding of laws was, you would not be able to move a small stone. But in the Sin domain, there was no energy. To pry open laws, they had to think of another way. The Sin domain people thought of a way, and that was to use the power of the physique. Tang Tian carefully avoided the people coming and going, and finally returned to his own residence. He lowered his head to look at his clothes, which had been sliced into pieces by Ben Sen's wind blades. Tang Tian slowly realized that his situation was different from others. His zero-energy body had the potential to improve further in the Sin domain, and that was to use laws to strengthen it. Regardless of whether it was in the Sacred Saint Galaxy or Heaven's Road, it was not easy, as the two places were filled with energy. But here, it was not a problem. Laws were like a riverbed without water, they were exposed and could be easily picked up. The path of the Sin domain was more suitable for Tang Tian. She forcefully suppressed her emotions and calmed herself down. All right. Han Bingning did not hesitate. The warehouse occupied a large area, with many containers inside. It was like a maze, and it was extremely easy to hide a person. Extreme. The power of the physique was the true foundation in the Sin domain. The fight between laws was completely different from the fight between energy. The footsteps of the two gradually got further away. The three martial technique systems all had their own specialties, and it was hard to differentiate between them. Energy, spirit, laws, out of the three, which was stronger? There was no meaning in such a debate, only suitable or not suitable. Warehouse? Tang Tian's power of the physique was very strong. His zero-energy body was much stronger than the Sin domain people's bodies, because it had been tempered time and time again. But Tang Tian was still not Ben Sen's opponent, because there was a huge disparity in their understanding of laws. Big Sister Mingzhu was angered half to death by that Tang brat. I don't know what the old granny was thinking, to actually spend 200,000 to buy such a fool. Our Shui family is a prestigious family. To take in such a vulgar person, it will be a joke. Chapter 705. Mingzhu forced herself to nod her head and turned to leave. She maintained a calm expression on her face, but her heart was already in turmoil, because she suddenly realized that Ghost Face Mask's physique was extremely similar to the servant Tang Tian in the residence. Tang Tian did not move at all. His snoring was like thunder. Tang Tian suddenly reacted. He finally understood what had happened. The zero-energy body had an innate affinity with laws, and after exhausting the power of the physique, his body was like a sponge that absorbed the surrounding laws. The laws that were compatible with the physique were absorbed into his body, and automatically started to refine Tang Tian's physique. Most importantly, the power of the physique was far more intense than before. Tang Tian moved slightly, and could feel the astonishing power contained in his body. Tang Tian did not even have time to cry out, "Pa!" The law fist barrier in front of him instantly crumbled. The congealed viscous air regained its flow. He then remembered that his physical strength had long been exhausted, and at that moment, his physical strength was overdrawn, and the power of the physique in his body was not enough to support the move. Tang Tian? The guard was confused. I don't see him. Not good. Tang Tian naturally did not know about it. He was sleeping soundly. In the air, young Master Qin and Mingzhu, who were watching the battle from afar, had pale faces and did not speak for a long time. The power inside the physique surged and roared in Tang Tian's body. The countless of changing imprints surged endlessly. She did not know what direction the matter would lead to, but she knew that the Purple Cuckoo City was going to be in chaos. Tempering the body with laws. She carefully opened the door and saw Tang Tian lying on the ground, sleeping soundly, his entire body unharmed. Her heart finally calmed down. Mingzhu trembled. She did not even dare to think of such an outcome. Since the other party is able to snatch a comrade from the Mu, or family, then they can find other families and snatch their comrades back. How will the other families deal with it? The Mu, or family's Ben Sen's strength had been exposed, and he had suffered a huge loss, so it was even more impossible for him to let the matter rest. Why would he appear again? Tang Tian's eyes darkened. He fell to the ground and fainted. A moment later, a deafening snoring sound was heard. He was exhausted after saving Han Bingning. The power of the flesh and blood in his body had dried up, so he naturally could not complete this punch. Like 10,000 streams returning to the sea, countless tiny streams of energy continuously gathered and strengthened, turning into a torrent. The fist force pushed forward slowly and firmly. Countless changes were faintly discernible, like a tree trunk that had its branches cut off. The only difference was that it was densely covered in large and small marks. Each mark symbolized the branches that had once been there. It was not him. He had just rescued Han Bingning, so he had to keep a low profile. Countless changes appeared in Tang Tian's mind, all of them derived from the fundamental fist technique. Every time a change appeared, the warm energy flowing in his body would become restless, wanting to respond to it. Hearing Tang Tian's voice, Han Bingning appeared quietly. However, what surprised Tang Tian was that there was another person beside her. He immediately checked on his own body. She had seen many troublesome people, but none of them were like the person in front of her, causing her to be at a loss of what to do. Mingzhu rushed into Tang Tian's residence like a gust of wind. Mingzhu bellowed, "Tangtan, quickly get up. Sleeping at night, sleeping in the day, how can you be so lazy, how can you?" But he was only exhausted, and was not injured. The zero-energy body's recovery speed was extremely fast, and automatically allowed Tang Tian to enter a sleeping state, allowing his body to recover faster. Xiao Yao coincidentally passed by, and upon seeing Tang Tian, she could not help but call out to Tang Tian, and kindly reminded him, Tang Tian, don't sleep tonight, you've been slacking off every day, big sister Ming Zhu will definitely punish you. Tang Tian opened his mouth and smiled happily. Tang Tian was surprised, he did not know Xiao Yao, but he still thanked her. Seeing that, the others immediately dispersed. Young Miss Ming Zhu was not happy. If they were to touch her at such a time, wouldn't that be asking for trouble? But when they looked at Tang Tian, their gazes were filled with curiosity. Young Miss Ming Zhu actually had no way to deal with him. His expression froze. Suddenly, Tang Tian's body froze. The power of the physique in his body disappeared without a trace. That was... Tang Tian awoke and felt an indescribable comfort in his body. He subconsciously got up, only to hear a series of popping sounds coming from his body. He was startled. Such a situation had happened before when he had just started training in the zero-energy body. But after that, his body had been tempered for a long time, and no such situation had occurred again. Compared to the senior martial artists, he had spent most of his time on relationships, and could not help but feel ashamed. Unknowingly, he was still courteous to Ming Zhu, but it was not as intimate as before. Tang Tian's mind was at ease, and forcefully restrained the warm flow of power in his body. Even if there were countless changes in his mind, the flow of power would stop at the point where it was about to change. No one noticed the strangeness in Tang Tian's body. His body was trembling slightly, every strand of his flesh and blood seemed to be opening and closing, as though they were breathing. Following the increasing frequency of the trembling, his body started to release a faint light, and threads of faint light aura seeped into Tang Tian's flesh and blood. There were a few times when she wanted to turn back to see if Tang Tian was still there, but she resisted the urge. Damn it. He suddenly noticed the remnant qi in his body. She quickly flew back and returned to the Shui residence, and upon seeing the guards at the door, she immediately asked, "Where's Tang Tian?" Young Master Qin saw that Ming Zhu's face was slightly pale, and thought that she was frightened by the shocking battle, so he advised her to go back and rest. The zero-energy body had many benefits, but how to improve it, this problem had always been bothering Tang Tian, until now, Tang Tian finally understood. That's right, it was the tempering of laws. Laws were the most basic laws of the heaven and earth. Using them to temper the flesh and blood, how strong would the flesh and blood become? Suddenly, Tang Tian thought about the fist that was interrupted before he fainted, and his heart became restless. At that time, if I were to use all my strength to punch, what would the result be? In truth, young Master Qin was equally shocked. The battle had given him an incomparable shock, and only then did he know what was a true martial artist's demeanor. The shrewd and unfathomable Ben Sen, and the unbridled ghost face mask, the two of them raised their hands and feet. The strange and unfathomable changes, the power that could destroy the heaven and earth, had opened his eyes, and was deeply shocked. When he was at the door, he heard the heaven-shaking snoring sounds inside, and his heart calmed down. A light sound came out, and the dim room suddenly lit up with a trace of light. An irregular bright red light beam appeared on Tang Tian's fist. The blood, flesh and bones in his body had become unprecedentedly strong, every muscle was as tough as black gold threads, and his bones were even more unique. When he looked inside, it actually revealed a faint jade luster. The fresh red blood had a faint gold tinge. The life qi in his body was so strong that it seemed to be boiling. The power came from his entire body and converged into his fist. Tang Tian, who was sleeping soundly, muttered, turned over, and laid on the ground with his arms outstretched, like a pancake that was spread out. Ming Zhu, who had calmed down, saw that Tang Tian was sleeping soundly, and the anger that he had been suppressing immediately surged up. The light aura became brighter, and the light beam that converged onto Tang Tian's fist became more and more. The rainbow-colored light arcs were like countless of colorful snakes swimming around, transforming into a conical light barrier. The scattered light beams were like a messy big net that appeared in front of Tang Tian. The seemingly slow fist was filled with clouds and smoke, and the vast qi that resembled the starry sky was released. The air in the room seemed to have been sucked in by the fist, and became as sticky as glue, causing Tang Tian's fist to become even slower. He actually fell asleep while guarding the warehouse, and even caused me to lose face in front of Qin Zishan. This guy is too despicable. But looking around, he had no choice but to suppress the restlessness in his heart. If he were to release his fist, the entire house would be gone. Countless of changes swept past Tang Tian's mind, countless laws flashed past Tang Tian's eyes. Ming Zhu immediately felt even more sullen. Tang Tian arrived at the warehouse, pushed open the big door, and after entering, he closed the door. Ming Zhu was so angry that she was trembling, but her good upbringing made her unable to say anything worse. She was about to say that she would chase him out of the Shui residence, but then she remembered that the old lady had spent 200,000 to buy it. If she were to chase him out, wouldn't that be letting him off easy? Ming Zhu's heart tightened, she bit her lips and increased her speed, anxiously rushing towards Tang Tian's residence. The servants and maids along the way had never seen young Miss Ming Zhu lose her composure, and could not help but look at each other, overwhelmed with shock. She was even more worried that the ghost face mask was Tang Tian. If it was definitely not a good thing for the Shui family. She was sure that from now on, all the families in Purple Cuckoo City would be looking for the ghost face mask. The Shui family will be implicated at that time. Gradually, the light aura became dimmer and finally disappeared. Tang Tian's fist slowly pushed forward, zzz, one after another of different light auras started to light up, as though they were multicolored lightning, converging onto Tang Tian's fist. It was the appearance of laws. Tang Tian's fist seemed to have some sort of mysterious attraction, attracting the laws to shine brightly. Seeing that Tang Tian did not care, Xiao Yao could do nothing about it. Tang Tian felt that his fist was as heavy as a mountain. He clenched his teeth. Every muscle, bone and tendon in his body were trembling at an astonishing frequency. The surging power of the physique surged out from every part of Tang Tian's body. Hearing the commotion behind him, many of the servants had heard the commotion and ran over. Under the watchful eyes of everyone, Ming Zhu resisted the urge to kick him awake, snorted, and turned to leave. Along the way, the servants and maids who saw Tang Tian revealed looks of disdain. He stood up and started to unleash his techniques. After going through the initial tempering of the laws, his body was much stronger than before. His strength had increased by more than 30%. Furthermore, the strength of his body had also increased. Thinking about Han Bingning, seeing that the sky had darkened, he immediately went out and walked towards the warehouse. Seeing that the ghost face mask had successfully snatched the lady from Ben Sen's hands, Ming Zhu knew that the matter had blown up. No one cared about the background of the group of people, but after the commotion, the various families had no choice but to face the mysterious guests. Very quickly, everyone dispersed, leaving Tang Tian's residence empty. Chapter 706. Ranked third is the Softwater Roland family. The Roland family has more yin than yang. Of course, they are much better than the Shui family. The Roland family's softwater sleeves mainly trains in water laws. It is unpredictable and uses softness to subdue hardness. The Roland family's people are everyone's most troublesome enemies. Their defensive capabilities are terrifyingly strong, and even if you are stronger than them, it is not easy to defeat them. The current patriarch of the Roland family is Su Roland. In the past, the infamous Sha Kong Lai's right arm was destroyed by her sleeves, and he ended up as a cripple and did not dare to step into Purple Cuckoo City. Tang Tian's face darkened, he clenched his fists tightly. Han Bingning's eyes suddenly lit up, he blurted out, using battle to nurture battle. Suddenly, all the killing intent disappeared. Tang Tian felt that there was no use in being angry. I want to squeeze him dry. Tang Tian's heroic spirit soared to the clouds. Hearing that, Tang Tian's face finally changed. Previously, although Ping Xiaoshan had said that they were powerful, but Tang Tian did not have much of an idea. And only when he said that the Mu family was only ranked 5th, did he have the most direct impression. Tang Tian was puzzled. He walked up and pulled out the cloth stuffed in Ping Xiaoshan's mouth, and said, "Didn't I tell you not to come and steal golden steel threads the last time? Why are you here again? What do you want?" Tang Tian stared at Ping Xiaoshan with a burning gaze. The other party knows that what I am doing is dangerous, and to choose to rely on me at such a time, there must be something I want from you. Black Benson is only ranked 5th? Tang Tian's face did not look good. He lost his fighting spirit because of the other party's strength? How can such a ridiculous thing happen to this godlike young lad? Everyone agreed to fight shoulder to shoulder. We have come this far together. To give up reason is just cowardice. Tang Tian then came to his senses. He scratched his head. It is easy to teach you. But these things are just something I created casually. No, let me study them for a few days, then I'll teach you. Ping Xiaoshan noticed that Tang Tian was not dejected. Instead, he was full of fighting spirit and had some respect for him, although he was unreliable at times, but in terms of fighting spirit he did not lose to anyone. To many people, fighting spirit was an illusory concept, but in the harsh and cruel Sin domain, people who lacked fighting spirit would find it hard to survive, and that was the reason why Victor's evaluation was not high. Ping Xiaoshan spoke until his mouth was dry. He nodded his head. Yes, this ranking has been in place for many years, and everyone agrees with it. He thought for a moment and said, if you want to make a move, you might as well start with Victor. Victor is greedy and lustful. If we capture him and use him as a hostage, the Teopiot family will definitely agree to release him. But the Mu-Er family doesn't have master's companions. Ping Xiaoshan did not understand. Although Ping Xiaoshan had already decided to rely on Tang Tian, but he never expected Tang Tian to ask so directly, and was startled. After a moment, he laughed bitterly. It's not easy to make a move on any family. Seems like he has some standards. Tang Tian's question was what he had prepared. He relaxed, and his words became much smoother. Before this subordinate came, I did ask around. The last time the tide rose, the entire city had a total of 403 people. The Qin family has the most, with 227 people. Other than that, the Su family has 92 people, the Roland family has 65, the Teopiot family has 42, the Yu family has 40, and the rest are Master and Miss Han. Tang Tian's eyes lit up. He truly needed a local tyrant. He knew nothing about the Purple Cuckoo City. Regardless of whether it was him or Han Bingning, they were not good at gathering information. If a local tyrant were to help them gather information, it would be much easier. Tang Tian took a deep breath. He regained his composure, and the fighting spirit in his eyes reignited. Ping Xiaoshan was dumbstruck. Which family is the easiest to make a move on? Tang Tian did not hide anything and asked directly. Tang Tian then asked, how are they now? Ping Xiaoshan lowered his head and said respectfully, this subordinate hopes to be of service to Master. And with so many strong martial artists, it was something to look forward to. Just thinking about it made his blood boil. Ping Xiaoshan said calmly, I wish to learn from Master how to use spatial laws to attack and defend. Ping Xiaoshan's expression became awkward. All right, who asked me to steal golden steel threads? Who asked me to do so? He clenched his teeth. Master, the battle in the day will definitely shock the entire city. Master's identity is noble and powerful, while this subordinate's abilities are low, but I grew up in the Purple Cuckoo City. If Master needs any information, this subordinate can still be used. Such a powerful man can only be ranked 5th in the Purple Cuckoo City. Han Bingning's gaze could not help but look over. I want to become stronger. Do we need a reason to fight? Tang Tian's eyes released a dazzling light aura. The current him was like a regiment of raging flames. Is there a better sparring partner than Black Benson? I have gained a lot from the previous battle. I want to continue challenging Benson. Tang Tian was an upright person and did not like to take advantage of others. Ping Xiaoshan had helped him greatly, and he did not want to fool him. The young man in front of him seemed to have transformed into a death god, his entire body releasing a terrifying killing intent. The air in the room instantly froze. Ping Xiaoshan's entire body tensed up, as though he was being stared at by a dangerous wild beast, causing him to suffocate. This time, Ping Xiaoshan had come after careful consideration, and naturally had made preparations. Tang Tian did not care about his own safety to save his own subordinates, so he would definitely want to save others. The matter of the family picking up people was not a secret in the Purple Cuckoo City. Ping Xiaoshan had the heart to ask around, and quickly found out. Only by becoming stronger can I save everyone. Ping Xiaoshan's heart warmed. He had been through the world for a long time, and knew that the reminder might seem simple, but it was not easy. Ping Xiaoshan replied gratefully, "Thank you, master." Tang Tian listened attentively, without the slightest bit of impatience. Against his enemies, he would never underestimate them. "No." Tang Tian shook his head. "I have already found my target." "Work for me?" Tang Tian was startled. He looked at Ping Xiaoshan suspiciously, and suddenly asked, "Do you owe money outside?" Ping Xiaoshan was startled. "Who is master referring to?" Ranked fourth is the Teopiate family. Their phoenix fire is said to be the result of their ancestors' enlightenment on 500 types of fire laws, and using the strongest 13, they fused together to form a flame. Its might is unparalleled. Their relationship with the Roland family is not good, and both parties are like fire and water. Currently, the strongest person in the Teopiate family is called Victor. He is a dissolute man, and hangs out in the brothels. He has the qualifications to fight for the position of patriarch, but his actions are too casual and unrestrained, causing the clan elders to be unhappy with him. He does not have any interest in power, and only likes to enjoy himself. This time, with Ben Sen's display of might, I think he will drop to the 5th place. I can definitely save everyone. I can definitely do it. Looking at Ping Xiaoshan, who was tied up and had something stuffed in his mouth, Tang Tian was startled. Ping Xiaoshan hesitated for a moment. Not too good. Now the various families are spreading the news that this group of people are arrogant and untamed, and need to be ground down, and most of them are in the prisoner barracks. The various families hope to grind down their edges, and make them submit in the future. "Don't reveal your identity," Tang Tian reminded him. "That way, you will not be implicated in the future." "You are very familiar with Purple Cuckoo City? Then tell me, which other families have my people?" Tang Tian could not resist but ask. Such an accurate number immediately made Tang Tian more convinced of Ping Xiaoshan's words. The second-ranked family is the Law Seal Su family. The Su family's life and death law seal mainly trains in one of the 3 great laws, the life and death laws. In every generation of the Su family, there would be an absolutely stunning genius. The current patriarch of the Su family, Su Yi, is only 24 years old this year, and his strength is unfathomable. But the Su family does not care about worldly affairs, and I do not know if it is because they train in the life and death law seal, but every generation of patriarch of the Su family does not live long, and the oldest is only 45 years old. But the Su family has many demonic geniuses, and the life and death law seal has never been passed down. The 5th place is the Mu-Er family. Ping Xiaoshan was startled. He never thought that Tang Tian would say such a thing. Seeing that Ping Xiaoshan was in a daze, Tang Tian thought that he did not understand and explained, "That way, even if anything happens to us, it will not affect you." He immediately reacted, Pay, I am a jinx, heh, all of them will be defeated by me. This godlike young lad will definitely defeat all of them. Save everyone." Han Bingning could not help but look at Tang Tian. She sensed that Tang Tian's strength had become even stronger, and the Null Division's people were all in the hands of the 4 families. To save everyone, these 4 strong martial artists that are stronger than Ben Sen is an obstacle that cannot be avoided. Ben Sen? Tang Tian laughed, revealing a mouth full of white teeth. Tang Tian was extremely clear on the strength of the black goods. Even though he had successfully snatched Han Bingning from the other party, but that was only because he was caught off guard. If it was a true life and death battle, the current him would definitely not have a chance of winning against the other party. Seeing that Tang Tian was not angry, he calmed down, he organized his thoughts and said, "There are 5 big families in the Purple Cuckoo City, the Purple Cuckoo Chin family, the Law Seal Su family, the Softwater Roland, the Phoenix Fire Thopiate, and the Mu-Er Steel Guards. The Purple Cuckoo Chin family is the strongest, and the city was built by their ancestors. The Purple Cuckoo King Qin Zhen is the undisputed #1 person in the Purple Cuckoo City. No one knows how strong Qin Zhen is, he rarely makes a move in his life, and very few people know. But since 20 years ago he has firmly occupied the position of the head of the Purple Cuckoo City, and no one has ever doubted or opposed him. Other than Qin Jin, the Qin family has 4 other great generals, all of whom have outstanding military achievements. Any one of them is enough to support an entire family. Usually, most of the Qin family's matters are handled by the 4 great generals. The Mu, or Steel Guards. In every generation of the Mu, or family, there would always be a group of loyal and devoted Steel Guards to protect the Mu, or family. But the current Mu, or family has long withered, and the current generation of Steel Guards only has been senior. The Mu, or family's inheritance is extremely complicated, and the Steel Guards are all different. When Benson was very young, he went out to roam the world, and after becoming famous, he returned to the Mu, or family. When he returned, he helped the Mu, or family to stabilize the situation. The Mu, or Steel Guards are all loyal and devoted, and many families are envious of them. Benson trains in Windblade, but I never expected him to be so strong. This time, the Mu, or family will definitely rise. He snuck in, and I restrained him. Han Bingning explained simply. Chapter 707. After leaving the Shui family's warehouse, Ping Xiaoshan's mind was still in a daze. How can such an important matter be decided so casually? Using battle to nurture battle, this phrase is not hard to understand. But how can he be so confident in his own talent? Zhong Zhengyan may thought about it. Third brother means that we should support him? Tang Tian said, "You will hold the fort for me. If I get injured, bring me back." Zhong Zhengyan did not say anything. Wei Han's words made sense. His gaze turned to the lady who was reading a book. "Second sister, what do you think?" That's too ridiculous." The Mu, or family, had always been hiding their strength and biding their time, giving people the feeling that they were in decline, but Benson's display of strength made everyone think about the almost forgotten Purple Cuckoo fifth family. No one had expected that Ghost Face Mask's sudden appearance would cause the originally calm and tranquil Purple Cuckoo City to suddenly become chaotic, and the situation became extremely complicated. Everyone present were all experienced people, but at that moment, they actually had a feeling of not knowing what to do. Everyone knew that he was talking about Benson. Other than Ghost Face Mask, the most unexpected person was Senator Benson's revealed strength caused everyone to be shocked. In the past few years, Benson did not have any sense of existence, and everyone had almost forgotten about him. Her voice was indifferent, as though she did not care about the matter. "It should be." Seeing that the master was not angry, the manager calmed down. He hesitated for a moment. "Do we need to use torture? If he does not have any strength, then so be it. But what if he is strong? Then wouldn't we just gain another enemy?" Zhong Zhengyan shook his head. "All of these prisoners are dead set on Ghost Face Mask. That shows that he is not ordinary. He truly needed a helper. He was not afraid of challenging Benson, although Benson was stronger than him, but it was not as if he did not have the strength to fight. The growth of strength was never easy, and to improve in a short period of time, the only way that Tang Tian could think of was to place himself in a dangerous situation, and that was the only way to stimulate his own potential." Wei Han sneered. "Return? Whose brain is stuck in the door? Spit out the meat in your mouth." That was what Ping Xiaoshan could not understand. Ping Xiaoshan felt that it was too rash of him to rely on him. This guy is already destined to fail. Luckily for me, I only need to learn a few consummate techniques. Thinking about that, Ping Xiaoshan immediately consoled himself. This guy learned the Ping family's stealth techniques for a night, and is able to create a few consummate techniques. Who knows, maybe he can truly become stronger? So what if he's extraordinary? Wei Han snorted. "Do you want us to spit him out?" "Big brother, we can't let these people go. I went to take a look. They're all good seedlings. As long as we nurture them well, our strength will definitely soar." "They won't say." The manager's face was pale. Su In Zhong and Victor have also appeared this time. Zhong Zhengyan said in a deep voice, "Everyone must be careful during this time." Wei Han snorted. "So what? Even if we support him, we would only have 200 over men. An army of 200 over men? I can destroy them all by myself." The Sin domain was not suitable for armies. Besides, what good will it do us if we support him? Third brother, all the benefits that you said are fake, but the fat meat that we spit out is real. It was not easy for us to snatch 200 over men. If we were to spit it out like that, if the other families digested it, and we did not get anything, we will lose out greatly. Truly confident, Zhong Zhengyan was not angry, and nodded his head. I believe you on this. I got them out, and then? Mu Ze's eyes revealed a light aura that caused people's hearts to palpitate. All of these prisoners have outstanding bodies, and do not have any energy. As long as we give them some pointers, they will be able to form an extremely powerful fighting force. They used to be an army. How many years has it been since our Sin domain had an army? From that angle, it was an unexpected move, but it was a coincidence. Zhong Zhengyan revealed a look of excitement. With Han Bingning around, he could let go of his last bit of apprehension and challenge with all his might. Ping Xiaoshan laughed bitterly. Wei Han's face was also ugly. Su Zhong was Su Ye's younger brother. His talent was extremely high, but the strange thing was that he did not have any interest in the Su family's ultimate technique, life and death law seal, but was infatuated with the sword. He had always said that he wanted to create his own sword technique, completely breaking away from the Su family's boundary, and had always tried to break through the life and death barrier, but now that he had come out, it meant that he had a huge breakthrough. The wind foreshadowed a coming storm. The Mu Steel Guards were the tradition of the Mu family, and Ben Sen would definitely not give them up. Ben Sen, who was hiding his strength, had placed all of his effort into grooming the new generation of Steel Guards, and the new generation of Steel Guards was most likely already formed. The so-called life and death barrier meant that if one did not succeed, they would go into closed-door training until their death. Anyone who dared to challenge the life and death barrier was a person with great perseverance, and everyone respected such people. Su Zhong is out? Mu Ze's tone became serious. Seems like the Su family has another great general. Tang Tian immediately called out to her, I will teach you the Ping family's stealth techniques. The Mu family's strength was still lacking compared to the other four families, and with only Ben Sen holding the fort, it would not be easy for them to be surrounded and attacked. Han Bingning did not doubt Tang Tian's decision. She was different from Ping Xiaoshan. She was long used to Crazy Tang's foolish and laughable methods, and in the end, he would obtain victory. Foolish to a certain realm, it can be considered as unexpected. After calming down, his mind became clear. If his comprehension is truly high, then it is a good plan. Tang Tian and Ben Sen's battle had shaken the entire city, and the various families are most probably preparing for battle, wary of Tang Tian. I am truly looking forward to it. Who knew if it was because of his self-consolation, but Ping Xiaoshan's anxious state of mind slowly calmed down. That means they recognize who Ghost Face Mask is? Zhong Zhengyan asked. I feel that Big Brother is right. Until then, Mu Ze, who had been quiet the entire time, spoke up. I have asked around. It is not only our Purple Cuckoo City that has benefited, the other cities have as well. There are over 1,000 of them. It is definitely an army, and Ghost Face Mask is most likely the commander of the army. He had a ferocious-looking face, with a deep cross scar on his forehead that was extremely eye-catching. He was one of the 4 great generals, Wei Han. Su Zhong was not conspicuous among the Su family, adding that he was a rebel. He was the subject of ridicule. But when he set his mind on breaking through the life and death barrier, all the discussions were swept away, and no one dared to disobey him. What about me? Han Bingning looked at Tang Tian. And then? Wei Han was stumped. That night in Purple Cuckoo City, many people were unable to sleep. The person who spoke was around 40 years old. He had a stern expression. He was the head of the Qin family's 4 great generals, Zhong Zhengyan. Zhong Zhengyan was deeply trusted by Qin Jin. He had been in charge of the internal affairs for many years, and had an extremely high prestige. His way of doing things was steady, and under his management, Purple Cuckoo City's influence had steadily increased. When the manager retreated, the burly man by the side could not help but say, Big Brother, you are too cautious. Humph, I have seen many stubborn people. If you hand them to me, I will definitely get them out of you. Mu Ze was handsome and had a scholarly aura. He looked gentle and harmless. He smiled. One person cannot overturn the heavens. But what if one of the families returns a few of his subordinates? So what? Wei Han straightened his neck and said with a red face, "Now that he is alone, can he overturn the heavens?" The reason why the Qin family was able to suppress the other families, other than Qin Zhen's unfathomable strength, the four great generals' absolute strength was also a guarantee. The Su family had one more great general, and the threat to the Qin family would increase. The manager immediately agreed. If they were to bump into them now, they would definitely be badly injured. He shook his head. It was not something he could decide. Why waste so much brainpower? His thoughts returned back to his mission. Tang Tian had given him the mission, which was to find out where the remaining prisoners were kept. "There's still the black goods," Wei Han said coldly. A fierce glint flashed in his eyes. If not for the ghost face mask causing a ruckus, that black goods would still be hiding. Out of the few big families in Purple Cuckoo City, the one that posed the greatest threat to the Qin family was the Su family. The Su family did not recruit outsiders, and their lifespans were short, but they had many geniuses. Mu Er's generation of steel guards, it's about time for them to show themselves. Mu Zhe suddenly said, "Benson, don't tell me that for the past few years, Benson has placed all his thoughts on grooming a new generation of steel guards." Tang Tian did not have any thoughts of luck. "Second sister is right." Zhong Zhengyan nodded his head. "We will first observe for a while. Since the ghost face mask took action against the Mu or family, he will definitely take action against the other families. We can observe for a period of time and see if he is worth our investment." When he came out of closed-door training, everyone knew that he had undergone a complete transformation. The lady's gaze finally left the book in her hands, and on her face was a pure silver mask. The pure silver mask flickered with silver light. Her dim pupils were like an unfathomable abyss. It was extremely hard to see. Her hair was multicolored, each and every strand was straight, like colorful thorns, all sticking out. Wei Han and Mu Zhe nodded their heads at the same time. The four of them had the same opinion. As for Tang Tian's talent in training, the entire Ursa Major constellation, no, the entire Heaven's Road, no one would doubt it. "Let's wait, we need to see how capable he is." "Did you get him?" "No need." Zhong Zhengyan muttered, "From today onwards, take good care of them, and do not casually beat or scold them." It did not matter if they liked him or hated him, but no one could ignore his existence. Borrowing the stimulation of death to ignite one's potential was not a new method. But very few people were willing to do so because the risk was too high, and if they were not careful, they would lose their lives. Strength could be slowly accumulated, but they only had one life, and unless it was absolutely necessary, no one wanted to face death. "All right." Han Bingning nodded his head straightforwardly and turned to train. Godlike young lad, such a laughable title, had conquered the entire Heaven's Road. After every life and death battle, he would definitely be exhausted, covered with cuts and bruises, and at the moment his defense was at 0, and there were countless eyes staring at him from the dark. Tang Tian did not want to land in the hands of those thieves. If other people were to encounter such a situation, they would think of a way to find the opponent's weakness, or form an alliance with other powerhouses. But to find someone to spar with? To place their hopes on themselves becoming stronger. Chapter 708. Yes. Han Bingning replied, and did not say anything else. With an expert overseeing, it was naturally a good thing for the thieves to disappear. But with such an expert, how could the Shui family rope him in? If they could not rope him in, the master would be strong and the servant weak, and that would not be a good thing. Tang Tian did not dare to alarm her, but suddenly he heard footsteps approaching. He immediately rushed out from where Han Bingning was hiding. Whoosh, in the next moment, he appeared in front of the warehouse and opened the door. The size of a sesame seed. Tang Tian was startled. He muttered in his heart, could it be that the golden steel silkworm is a glutton, to be so picky about the size? An indescribable faint aura, like a fish that was hiding in the deep sea, surfaced and caught a glimpse of it. Seeing that the lazy person has some strength, Mingzhu finally understood why the various families treated them as treasures. To the families that were already in balance, with the addition of new blood, it would definitely cause their strength to soar. The theft of the golden steel threads in the warehouse was not stopped, although the thieves did not dare to be too impudent, but the daily loss of the golden steel threads was maintained at a stable level. Mingzhu even suspected that the group that stole the golden steel threads had already found a new home. This was the result of the Qin family's strict crackdown on the golden steel threads in the market. If not for the Qin family, the Shui family would have long been riddled with holes. Using benefits to tempt them, young Miss is truly brilliant. Miss Mingzhu was also willing to pay. The golden steel gravel was the excretion of the golden steel silkworm. The golden steel silkworm ate black ironstones as food, produced golden steel threads, and excreted silkworm gravel, which was the golden steel gravel. The golden steel silkworm's food was astonishing, but it excreted very little, which was extremely rare. Mingzhu was now a little impressed with the old madam. 200,000 might seem like a lot, but if stealing from the warehouse was banned, then the loss would definitely be more than 200,000. Upon thinking about the scene of him sleeping soundly, Mingzhu's heart surged with an unknown evil fire. But to Han Bingning, who had trained in an energy body, the power of the physique in her body was extremely vigorous. Adding that the zero energy body had an innate affinity with laws, so around her, there were a large number of law threads. Han Bingning's expression was extremely focused. There were many law threads, which meant that she had more choices, but at the same time, to find a law thread that was compatible with her amongst the many law threads, the difficulty was even higher. After the law materialized, one would have to choose the law that they wanted to cultivate. He didn't lose any energy during this period of time. Little Ping has quite a few peers. Tang Tian chuckled and changed the topic. I found some clues these few days. I think in a few days, I'll be able to find the big black guy and fight him. She sat cross-legged on the ground as a silent tremor spread out from her body. This was the vibration of her flesh power. One after another, bright strands of light lit up around her. Is there anything else important? Mingzhu looked at the time. She was about to go and discuss business. The Lu family from the Galloping Horse City had sent someone over to discuss business. Seeing the scale of the business group, Mingzhu felt that it was a big business. Only today did she realize that unknowingly, her strength had already surpassed her expectations. She calmed her heart, and her gaze that was as sharp as a sword gradually disappeared. Her heart was like a lake mirror, reflecting the starry sky and the colorful shoals of fish. Tang Tian immediately kept quiet. He opened his eyes wide, afraid that he would startle Han Bingning. Xiao Yao looked at Mingzhu and spoke quickly. Ever since little Tang started guarding the warehouse, the golden steel threads have not been damaged. Then I have to thank you, little Tang. Xiao Yao laughed, then continued. The golden steel silkworms feed on black iron stones, but you cannot feed them directly, but you need to shatter them into pieces, each of them the size of a sesame seed. They cannot be too big nor too small. Forget it, let's not bother about him for now. The golden steel gravel was her way of testing the waters, and it all depended on whether Tang Tian took the bait or not. In the warehouse, it was different from the bag of stones. The golden steel gravel was extremely light. If not for the fact that he could feel something inside, Tang Tian would have suspected that the bag was empty. Seeing Xiao Yao retreat, Mingzhu suddenly felt a headache. If Tang Tian truly had the ability to stop the thieves, it meant that he was extremely powerful, and to the Shui family it was a good thing, but also a troublesome matter. To the martial artists of the Sin domain, the manifestation of laws was the first step. The laws of the Sin domain were like rocks that were exposed to the air on a dry riverbed. They were clearly visible. Using the power of the flesh and blood, the laws were revealed. At this moment, the laws were like many messy light threads, also known as law threads. They were of different colors, and had all sorts of strange properties. The surrounding schools of fish were disappearing at a speed visible to the naked eye, as though they were swallowed by the formless darkness, and Han Bingning's surroundings became dark once again. But it was not easy to digest this piece of meat. Mingzhu had heard many rumors in the past few days. All of them were arrogant and untamed, like tigers and wolves, and completely did not listen to recruitment. If not, they would not be willing to throw them into the prisoner barracks and think of ways to grind away their unyielding nature. The black iron stones are extremely hard, and it takes up a lot of time and energy, and the residence is filled with women, so they do not have enough strength, so we usually hand it over to the people outside to crush them. Who knew that there would be an accident this time, and we are unable to supply them, so we have no choice but to seek help from little Tang. Xiaoyao spoke politely and took out a bag woven with gold threads. Young Miss said that this will take up a lot of time and will be very tiring, so this bag of golden steel gravel will be your reward, little Tang. If it does not work, does it mean that I have to marry him? Wait a minute. Don't let him do it for free, give him a handful of golden steel gravel. Ming Zhu suddenly shouted. Countless of auras surfaced in her mind, some were distant and faintly discernible, some were tyrannical and blazing, some were ice-cold and gloomy, some were vast and ancient, all of them were different. It was the first time she faced laws directly. In Heaven's Road, laws were always hidden within energy, and training in the zero-energy body was like seeking fire in water. Every step was extremely difficult. Xiaoyao was about to push open the warehouse door, but the door automatically opened, scaring her. When she saw that it was Tang Tian, she heaved a sigh of relief and patted her chest. Little Tang, you scared me to death. This step did not seem difficult, but in truth, it was not easy. An ordinary martial artist's power of the physique was abundant enough to allow law threads to materialize, but the number of law threads that could be materialized was directly related to the strength of the physique. When the power of the physique was abundant, it could only materialize the most ordinary and common law threads. Big Sis Xiaoyao, there are still things stored in the warehouse in the middle of the night? Tang Tian was surprised. After staying in the warehouse for a few days, Tang Tian had slowly grasped the pattern. All sorts of goods were stored in the warehouse during the day, and never at night. It was the first time he had heard of golden steel gravel, and seeing Xiaoyao's solemn face, he guessed that the golden steel gravel was not cheap. Her gaze was as sharp as a sword as she stared at the chaotic light threads in front of her. Her mind swept past the school of fishes. No sweat will be shed for nothing. During the night, she sensed that a few groups of people were trying to sneak in, but she did not want to expose herself, so she revealed a bit of her sword concept and immediately intimidated the group of thieves, causing them to escape without a trace. Golden steel gravel? Tang Tian received the gold thread bag in confusion. Tang Tian noticed that Xiaoyao was followed by a few large carriages. Xiaoyao took out a bag of food and gave it to Tang Tian. When Tang Tian received it, he was surprised. It was such a small bag, but it was surprisingly heavy. When he opened it, it was filled with sesame-sized black stone granules. He casually grabbed a handful of the black stone granules and looked at them carefully. All of the black stone granules were smashed very evenly and were of the same size. He casually rubbed them, but the black iron stone granules did not move at all, causing him to be surprised. What do you need my help for? Sister Xiaoyao, tell me. Tang Tian did not reject her, and immediately agreed. Although he was a little stupid, but he was not stupid, he had seen the disdain of the other people in the residence, and Xiaoyao was one of the few that treated him well. Young Miss Ming Zhu was an upright person, and hated lazy people the most. Ming Zhu listened attentively to Xiaoyao's report on the recent accounts. Xiaoyao's logic was clear, and the data was accurate, causing her to nod her head in praise. With Xiaoyao here, you have saved me a lot of effort. Han Bingning suddenly opened her eyes. Without any hesitation, she locked onto the almost undetectable qi. Her fingers formed a sword seal, and with a gesture, a pale blue light beam entered her sword fingers. Han Bingning closed her eyes and went back into meditation. Xiaoyao was convinced. The following business was extremely important to the Shui family. The Lu family's strength was not inferior to the Qin family, and even if they were to form a good relationship, it would be beneficial to the Shui family. Upon hearing Ming Zhu's words, Xiaoyao immediately understood and laughed. Then I have to send more. This guy is so lazy, I truly need to teach him a lesson. All of the law threads swam around her, like a large and colorful school of fish, gathering and dispersing. Xiaoyao giggled. She was already used to such praises. This immediately roused his spirit, and he immediately opened the gold-threaded bag. Ming Zhu was startled, she was surprised, and could not help but ponder. Gold and steel gravel was a good material, it was extremely sturdy, and could be used to refine weapons. But gold and steel gravel could not be refined with fire, and required a special refining method. It was because of this limitation that the price of gold and steel gravel was not excessive. There were a few groups of people that wanted to sneak in at night, but I released a few sword concepts, and they left. Han Bingning said she was originally a quiet person, and even if she stayed in the pitch-black warehouse for a few days, she would not feel annoyed. Xiao Yao was surprised, but she understood, yes. And coincidentally, the Shui family knew of such a method. Gold and steel gravel was the best material to refine weapons. Tang Tian knew just by looking at it. What else could make martial artists scramble for more than a peerless divine weapon? A handful of gold and steel gravel, to a weapon, was like a cup of water on a burning cart of firewood. He had to first accumulate enough gold and steel gravel, and then obtain the method to refine it. This time I came especially for you, Xiao Tang. Xiao Yao pursed her lips and laughed. In this period of time, the residence is lacking manpower, and the silkworm workshop is unable to supply the food. After thinking about it, Xiao Yao can only come and beg Xiao Tang. What a sturdy material. Observe for a period of time. Ming Zhu said, that's right, the silkworm workshop does not have much black iron stones left. Send a batch of black iron stones to the warehouse, and let that guy shatter them. Chapter 709. Tang Tian was able to clearly see how the law thread transformed from formless to tangible. The pitch-black strand that was thinner than a strand of hair appeared out of thin air. As soon as it appeared, waves of invisible and intangible ripples slowly spread out with it as the center. To find out what the gray vortex was, the simplest method was to break it open. In terms of training his physique, Tang Tian found it hard to improve further, so he placed all of his focus on laws, and by gaining a deeper understanding of laws, he would be able to improve further. Although the strand of life origin essence was weak, but its value was unparalleled. The reason why Tang Tian placed his thoughts on laws was because compared to gaining enlightenment on laws, raising one's life force was more unrealistic. Tang Tian's interest was aroused. Tang Tian's heart moved, but he did not dare to test it out here. Han Bingning was still hidden in the shadows. If he were to disturb her, it would be bad. Furthermore, Tang Tian did not know what would happen if the space exploded. But the most important thing was to break the gold and steel gravel. After completing the task, he could return and report to Miss Ming Zhu, and did not need to worry about anything else. As for whether or not Tang Tian was able to complete it, whether it was a reward or a punishment, Miss Ming Zhu would decide for herself. The power of the physique in his body started to revolve, and a strange law thread started to grow frantically from his fingertips. In the blink of an eye, it had exceeded a foot, and swayed in the air like a strand of hair. To Tang Tian, the strongest aspect of the Ping family's stealth technique was its ability to break through space. In Heaven's Road, the only person that Tang Tian had seen that was able to do so was when Little Fool summoned the Saint Sword Ocean Prison. Life force was something that didn't exist, but it did exist. Every living creature's body structure had long since stabilized. The so-called tempering only removed the impurities and strengthened the flesh, but it couldn't increase the upper limit of their life force. How do I break it open? The unstable space was like the most terrifying bomb. The intense sense of danger caused all of Tang Tian's hairs to stand. Tang Tian did not say a word. The energy in his body surged, his flesh and blood surged, suddenly circulating. His 2 fingers were like iron pincers, using all his strength to clamp down on the golden steel gravel. But what Tang Tian didn't expect was that no matter how much strength he used, the golden steel gravel wouldn't budge. These emotions flashed past Tang Tian's mind. Xiao Yao breathed a sigh of relief in her heart. She did not have the confidence to deal with Tang Tian. This guy's style of doing things was often unexpected and difficult to grasp. Xiao Yao also did not dare to guarantee that she could complete the task. Boom! Those faint ripples caused Tang Tian's heart to palpitate inexplicably. He could feel the fluctuations in space. The ability to break through space was definitely very powerful. Tang Tian secretly kept this idea in mind. He had to find an opportunity to try it out. A wave of heat flowed into Tang Tian's body. Tang Tian's body was like a dried-up riverbed. Every drop of rain that landed on the ground would be absorbed cleanly. The law threads crumbled inch by inch and disappeared without a trace. The gray vortex transformed into an extremely fine mist. Inside the mist, a silver light flickered, as though there were countless of silver stars floating in the mist. But following that, the silver stars in the mist became even brighter, and very quickly, the entire mist had turned silver. The Venus silver mist lingered in the air, like a vast galaxy. Time slowly passed. Suddenly, Tang Tian, who was seated like a statue, moved. The fine thread did not have any light. Law thread, it was the law thread of the Ping family's stealth technique, one of the branches of spatial laws. Inside the blurry void, Tang Tian's eyes lit up, his state of mind locked onto the law thread. Thinking about the golden steel gravel in the bag, Tang Tian immediately became excited. A light bulb lit up in Tang Tian's mind, and his eyes flashed a look of ecstasy. Tang Tian did not immediately try it out, but sat down and thought about it. Yes, yes, yes. Tang Tian, who was completely focused on the golden steel gravel, replied absent-mindedly. Tang Tian guessed that the golden steel gravel's characteristics were most likely related to the tiny gray vortex. He had not figured out the use of the gray vortex, but as a tyrant who had seen all sorts of treasures, he could tell that it was not ordinary. Tang Tian closed his eyes and carefully sensed the changes in his body. After a moment, he opened his eyes filled with longing. The thread of life origin essence was definitely a good thing, but it was too little. It was unable to make his body undergo a qualitative change. Tang Tian did not believe it. He tried many methods, but the tiny golden steel gravel did not even have a single crack. Tang Tian's power of the physique had already reached a bottleneck. The powerful whirlpool sword storm had tempered his body to an astonishing degree, and his zero-energy body was already extremely powerful. After the battle with Ben Sen, he had overdrafted his physical strength and had activated laws to temper his body, causing his physique to be tempered to an unimaginable degree. This thread of qi was the purest life origin essence. The life origin essence's improvement to Tang Tian was far more obvious than others. Tang Tian's body was already tempered to an almost perfect state. Without the interference of impurities, the life origin essence that he absorbed could be even more thoroughly absorbed. Tang Tian did not care about wiping off the blood at the corner of his mouth. He stared straight ahead. It was a pity, although they had grasped the powerful law thread, but they had chosen the wrong direction and were unable to unleash the true might of the law thread. Tang Tian did not hesitate to keep the golden thread back. Tang Tian jumped in shock. He quickly found the reason and revealed a bitter smile. In the previous slash, the power of the physique in his body was actually completely exhausted, and the remaining power was not enough to control the law thread so precisely. After regaining his senses, Tang Tian extended his hand towards the thread of life origin essence without saying a word. A golden steel gravel floated in front of him, and Tang Tian focused on controlling the law thread in his hand. The pitch-black law thread suddenly stretched taut. Like a blade, it accurately slashed onto the golden steel gravel. Thinking about the huge amount of life origin essence that he was unable to absorb, he felt extremely sullen. The gray mist inside the golden steel gravel is actually life origin essence. This time, Tang Tian looked even more carefully. Inside the small transparent golden steel gravel, the gray vortex was slowly revolving, occasionally flickering with a silver light. Tang Tian felt as though a thunder had exploded in his mind. His body trembled. The surging power in his body seemed to have suffered a heavy blow and collapsed. Tang Tian groaned, and a stream of blood flowed out from the corner of his mouth. The smile on his face became even more bitter. When Xiao Yao led everyone away, Tang Tian immediately took out the golden steel gravel and started to study it again. Without saying a word, he did the same thing, but what he did not expect was that he was actually unable to congeal another law thread. Tang Tian's face changed. His current strength was extremely powerful, compared to the past, it was many times stronger. Even if it was Heaven's Road's silver-grade star treasures, if they were to land in his hands, he could even break them apart with his bare hands. That's a good way to use it. Tang Tian suddenly realized that he was helpless. In terms of the tyrannical physique, even the strongest blood saint was unable to compare to him. After breaking through the golden steel gravel, the gray mist's transformation was like a phoenix's nirvana. It was gorgeous and dazzling, filled with the throbbing of life. His figure suddenly became blurry. His dim eyes were like the reflection of stars in a water shadow of nothingness, the light rippling slightly. That is life origin essence. Then I will accept it. The golden steel gravel was the size of a river's sand, quietly lying inside the bag. The dark gray color was extremely unremarkable. Tang Tian carefully picked one up and used his fingers to grind it. It was extremely sturdy, even stronger than black iron stones. It was Tang Tian's first time encountering such a situation. Suddenly, he was struck with inspiration. He thought of a method laws. A foreign aura dispersed out, and an indescribable joy surged out from Tang Tian's body. Tang Tian was startled. Every single muscle in his body seemed to be cheering, filled with joy. For example, Tang Tian's body, his muscles were as strong as steel, his bones were comparable to star treasures, even the ability to produce blood and grow muscles was much stronger than saints. But such tempering was not limitless. When his body was tempered to near perfection, it would be difficult to improve, and that was determined by his life form. At that stage, to improve further, he could only rely on his life essence. The black law thread sliced through the gravel and struck the gray vortex. Tang Tian admired Ping Shaoshan's ancestor. The law's grade was definitely not low. Furthermore, its aura was extremely weak. If not for Tang Tian's finger congealing, Tang Tian would not have been able to sense it. Even now, with one end connected to Tang Tian's fingertip, its aura was something that Tang Tian could not completely grasp. On one hand, it was because its aura was extremely weak, and on the other hand, it was because its body could freely travel through space. With one end firmly connected to Tang Tian's fingertip, the other end of its body would suddenly disappear and reappear. One could imagine if it were to travel in the air, its movements would be extremely strange and would be extremely difficult to catch. That wisp of life essence could nourish his flesh and blood, but it couldn't immediately help them recover from fatigue. Tang Tian, who was in a terrible mood, turned to look at the piles of black iron stones in the warehouse. But the life essence in front of him allowed Tang Tian to see a glimmer of hope. To any living being, life essence was an extremely nourishing item. It could nourish the body and increase life force. Interesting. He first thought of spatial laws. The Ping family's stealth technique contained spatial laws, but it was just a branch of spatial laws. But spatial laws that were hailed as one of the three fundamental laws, even if it was just a branch, it was still extremely powerful. But even with his full strength, he was unable to do anything to a small golden steel gravel. The dense silver mist was extremely beautiful, but the transformation was not over, as bits of gold light blossomed from the silver mist. Not long later, the silver mist started to sparkle, as though the gold gravel was mixed in. The transparent gravel body was effortlessly sliced apart. The transformation was extremely fast, causing Tang Tian to be unable to take it in. Tang Tian's mouth was wide open. In that moment, he was stunned. Normally, hard objects were usually heavy, but this object was as light as a feather. He placed the golden steel gravel in front of his eyes, and upon closer inspection, he could see it clearly. The golden steel gravel was actually transparent and colorless, but there was an extremely small gray whirlpool inside, causing it to look light gray. What caused Tang Tian to feel even more incredulous was that the small whirlpool was actually moving slowly. Then I will be leaving. 3 days later, the people from the silkworm workshop will come to collect the food. Xiao Yao smiled at Tang Tian. Chapter 710. Tang Tian face-bombed. I am truly stupid. Why did I want to complete that fist? I can try the incomplete version first. It will definitely not consume so much physical strength. The black iron stones were much tougher than he thought, but after witnessing the strength of the golden steel gravel, Tang Tian was not surprised. Luckily, the black iron stones were not so ridiculous that they required spatial law threads to separate. Ming Zhu's face finally changed. She said coldly, "Young noble Lu is too complacent. This is Purple Cuckoo City, not Galloping Horse City." Tang Tian's physical strength was already depleted, and after thinking about it, he became even more tired, and unknowingly he fainted again. It was a pity, young noble only allowed him to bring half. The group of people left. Purple Cuckoo City does not only have one Qin family. Lu Lingnan shook his head. If we go overboard, we might alarm the other families and cause problems to arise. Tang Tian did not do that. Although he could use his muscles to simulate the vibrations, the efficiency was too low. He did not have much physical strength left, and if he were to simulate the minute collapsing fist, he would only be able to shatter a few black iron stones. The minute collapsing fist was a relatively low-level fist technique. It used true power to achieve high-frequency vibrations, and although Tang Tian did not have any true power in his body, it was not a problem for him. His body was extremely tyrannical and could easily simulate the vibrations. She could not even stand properly. Without the protection of the Qin family, the Shui residence was like a piece of meat, where countless of wolves would pounce on them and devour them. The rhythmic snoring sounds could be heard even through the thick stone walls. Tai Xie was like a black shadow, quietly moving in the darkness, and quickly reached the walls of the Shui residence. The guards stationed in the shadows of the Shui residence were chatting softly, completely unaware that someone had passed through them. Tai Xie quickly found the location of the warehouse, and following the wall, he was like a shadow, moving forward without a sound. Ming Zhu's body swayed, her face turning pale white. It was not only her, even Xiao Yao who was behind her had a change in expression. For the Lu family to enter Purple Cuckoo City, the Qin family would definitely be extremely cautious, but until now, not a single Qin family member had appeared. The smile on Lu Lingnan's face disappeared. He frowned, he put down the teacup and said expressionlessly, "Seems like Miss Ming Zhu will not turn back until she hits the south wall." The Shui family is indeed not anyone's vassal, but without the big tree, how long can the Shui family last? He arrived outside the warehouse. All of Ming Zhu's energy was sucked out, and she fell into the chair in a daze. As he recalled, Tang Tian immediately discovered that the countless deductions and transformations were flooding towards him like a tidal wave. There were countless variations in the fist technique, and each variation was a mark. From easy to difficult, from big to small, Tang Tian wanted to choose the most important transformation marks from the tens of thousands of transformation marks and integrate them into his fist technique. A cold sword came out of nowhere and locked onto him. The cold edge of the sword went straight to the back of his neck. His face changed color as his soul flew out of his body. The warehouse door was tightly shut. He leaned against the wall, a little surprised. In the letter, Zhong Zhengyanmei's tone was very gentle, but it revealed an unquestionable aura. Zhong Zhengyanmei said that the Qin family and Lu family were the closest allies, and the alliance between them concerned the future of Purple Cuckoo City and Galloping Horse City. He thought that the Shui family would be able to develop better in the Lu family. He hoped that the Shui family would be able to see the bigger picture and move to Galloping Horse City. The Shui family was extremely important to the alliance. He said that if the Shui family met with any problems in the future, they could find the Qin family and would definitely help. Ming Zhu's expression turned cold and said indifferently, "My Shui family does not have the fortune to enjoy the big tree that is the Lu family. If the Lu family wants to buy the fabric, the market price will do. If it's anything else, please keep your mouth shut." Seems like Miss Ming Zhu will not give up until you see the coffin. Lu Lingnan sighed. He took out a letter from his bosom and flicked it, causing it to fly to Ming Zhu. "Miss Ming Zhu, why don't you take a look first? There's someone snoring inside." But following that, an unprecedented rage surged in her heart. Although the Shui family relied on the Qin family for protection, they were not their vassals, but Zhong Zhengyanmei actually treated them like a vassal. Another subordinate said, "Do you want to light a fire?" He licked his lips and extended his hand out to grab the golden steel threads. Upon walking out of the Shui residence, one of Lu Lingnan's subordinates asked, "Young master, what do we do?" He finally understood why his young master had his eyes on the Shui family. Luckily, his young master only wanted him to steal half of the golden steel threads. If not, with so many goods, even if they were to use carriages to pull them, who knew how many carriages would be needed to pull them all? But the Qin family's intention, to Tai Xie, was the best. Such a terrible defense was completely useless. The few ladies behind Mingzhu all revealed looks of anger. They never thought that the Lu family would actually want to swallow up the Shui family, and they all looked at Lu Lingnan and his men in anger. Tang Tian calmed himself down. He was slowly reminiscing about the minute-collapsing fist. Rumors say that Miss Mingzhu is an unyielding character. From what I have seen, it seems to be true. Lu Lingnan's smile did not change and said slowly, "The reason why we discussed with Miss Mingzhu is because we respect Miss Mingzhu's character. If not, with the Lu family's strength, if we wanted to take anything, what can't we do?" He thought about law. The sound of snoring was like thunder. The person guarding the warehouse was sleeping soundly, and was a very young man. When Mingzhu saw the words, "To Miss Mingzhu," her body swayed, her face without a trace of blood. She was extremely familiar with the handwriting. It was the Qin family's general Zhong Zhengyanmei's handwriting. Zhong Zhengyanmei controlled the internal affairs of the Qin family and had many interactions with the Shui family. Hearing that, the few of them nodded their heads. Thinking about the unfathomable Qin family, Tai Xie's heart turned cold. Mingzhu's face was pale white, but she raised her head. A look of stubbornness flashed past her eyes and said, "The Shui family has never been anyone's subordinate. The fate of the Shui family will be decided by us. We do not need to trouble others." Mingzhu opened the letter with trembling hands. Tai Xie's eyes flashed with a look of disdain. He quickly found the location of the golden steel threads. The golden steel threads were not easy to obtain, and the entire warehouse did not have more than 300 kilograms of golden steel threads. Tai Xie alone could easily bring them all away. The Qin family was never easy to get along with. His mouth curled into a sneer. He stood up. "We will visit again in a few days. Maybe Miss Mingzhu will change her mind?" Although it was not completed, but the might of the fist had already revealed its extraordinary might. Tang Tian believed that the might of the fist would definitely surpass all of the martial techniques and spirit techniques that he had seen so far. The other Lu family members all had arrogant expressions, their mouths revealing looks of disdain. The requirement for the size of the black ironstones was extremely strict, and Tang Tian could not help but think about the minute-collapsing fist that he used to practice in the crushed stone field. In terms of shattering the stone, the minute-collapsing fist was undoubtedly the most suitable method. "Miss Mingzhu, what do you think?" Lu Lingnan laughed. He unrestrainedly admired Mingzhu's beauty, a look of greed flashing past his eyes. "I have long heard that the Shui family has a beauty, and it truly lives up to its name." The last time when Tang Tian was in the state of enlightenment, the myriad of changes were like fleeting shadows that flashed past his mind effortlessly. But now that he was slowly deducing it, it became extremely dry and tedious, and extremely tiring. He suddenly thought about the fist that he was not able to complete, and his eyes lit up. "That is a good choice." Tang Tian immediately revealed a bitter smile. The fist that he was unable to complete was because he had exhausted all of his stamina. Now that he did not have much stamina left, he was unable to complete the fist. The smile on Lu Lingnan's face became even wider, as though he was a cat playing with a mouse. He raised his teacup and gently took a sip. "That's right, this is Purple Cuckoo City, the Qin family's Purple Cuckoo City. But, Miss Mingzhu, have you ever thought about why the Qin family is not here when I have come to the Shui residence?" Truly overestimating herself, we should let this arrogant woman wake up. A sinister look flashed past Lu Lingnan's eyes. He scoffed. "Without the protection of the Qin family, what about the Shui family? I heard that the Shui family's warehouse is frequently robbed, and the Shui family is helpless. They do not even have this ability, and you still want to be stubborn? Tai Xie, go to the Shui family's warehouse tonight, and take half of the golden steel threads." The guards of the Shui family were truly riddled with holes. they were extremely weak, and their standards were extremely bad. Xianxia thought for a moment and understood. Most likely, the Qin family had purposely left behind these omissions. The Qin family did not have the intention to pull the Shui family out of their predicament, and the more unstable the Shui family was, the more they relied on the Qin family. Actually, following our Lu family will only be better than the Qin family. Lu Lingnan's tongue was glib. The patriarch has already said as long as the Shui family submits, they will be treated well. As the saying goes, it is good to enjoy the shade under a big tree. The Lu family is a big tree that will shelter the Shui family from the wind and rain. All of you just need to focus on raising the silkworms, and do not need to worry about anything else. It is so peaceful. He raised his head to look at the window, and once again transformed into a shadow. The shadow stuck close to the wall, and quietly crawled upwards. Following that, the shadow was like a strange liquid that flowed through the cracks of the window and seeped in. A look of disdain flashed past Xiaxia's eyes. The Shui family has truly sunk to the bottom. The guards were chatting, and he already felt that he was slacking off. The guards of the warehouse are actually sleeping so soundly, I have never heard of such a thing before. Xianxia was a skinny man of about 40 years of age, with a gloomy expression. In the discussion hall, although it was deep into the night, the lights were still bright, the atmosphere was extremely tense, both sides were ready to fight. Recently he had been using laws more, and had become more familiar with them. Xianxia did not say a word, he turned and disappeared into the night. He did not have much power left in his body. This is too much. An indescribable despair pervaded Mingzhu's heart. She had never thought that the Qin family would give up on the Shui family. Suddenly, his arm froze in mid-air, his body became as stiff as steel, and he did not dare move. The goods piled up like a mountain in the warehouse made Xianxia feel the wealth of the Shui family. Tang Tian did what he thought about, and carefully thought about the fist. At that time, his initial thought was to turn the complicated into simple, reverse the flow, and condense all the variations of the fist technique into one fist. Tang Tian did not panic. Since he had decided on the direction, he would start with the easy ones. When he was training with Bing, he had long learned how to handle such problems. He did not care about the black iron rock. He sat cross-legged and started to think. What a big piece of meat. Chapter 7:11. It's him. Zhong Jingyan Mei nodded his head. I never thought that such a fierce person would be recruited by him. Lu Lingnan is truly extraordinary. In the depths of the Xin domain, there were still many places that no one dared to step into. The various families had been exiled to the Xin domain for the past few hundred years, and had only just stabilized their footing, and did not have the strength to go deeper into the barren lands. B-class infamous. Mingzhu's face changed. The person beside Lu Lingnan is Xianxia. Shui Yan, who was in charge of gathering information, paled. She had been away from home for a long time, so her understanding of these matters far surpassed others. She suppressed the fear in her heart. Xianxia has a notorious reputation. He has killed countless of people, and has always been a lone ranger. I never expected him to be recruited by Lu Lingnan. He's a B-class infamous. The two of them no longer had any interest in chatting. Qin Zishan was already the most outstanding amongst the younger generation of the Qin clan, but compared to Lu Lingnan, the difference was extremely glaring. The other women exchanged glances with one another. The panic on their faces gradually dissipated. But this made him suffer even more. Lu Lingnan, on the other hand, calmed down. Once the other clans interfered, things would become complicated. They knew that their eldest sister was right. Once the Lu family knew the secret of the golden steel silkworm, they would no longer have any value. The Shui residence would be torn apart, and they would be sent to the hands of the Shui family disciples. Xiaxia's face revealed a sinister smile, seeking death. Han Bingning had become stronger. At this point we can only rely on ourselves. Mingzhu regained her composure, her eyes flashed with flames. Even if we beg for mercy, they will not let us go. They will make us spit out all the secrets of the Vajra silkworm. At that time, we will have no value and will only become their playthings. Instead of being humiliated for nothing, why not fight to the death? He was extremely clear of Tai Xia's strength, and it was impossible for the Shui family to have a martial artist that could threaten Tai Xia. Who could it be? Could it be that other families had interfered? The other families in Purple Cuckoo City? Everyone in the Shui residence could not sleep at all. The lights were bright. Out of the 15 guards, only one had survived. Their ferocity was terrifying to the extreme. Qin Zishan's mind was blank. His face was a mix of green and white. His eyes were at a loss. As the son of an aristocratic family, he wasn't a good-for-nothing either. Naturally, he could see the pros and cons clearly. To be able to rise to the ranks of B-rank infamous men, they were all famous people. They could be found in every corner of the Xin domain, and no one dared to provoke them. A B-class infamous was already considered a top-notch expert. One should know that there were only 149 B-class infamous in total. Qin Zishan lowered his head and stood in front of Zongjing Yanmei. He clenched his fists tightly. He never thought that his eldest uncle would actually hand over the Shui family to the Lu family. Thinking about young Miss Mingzhu falling into the hands of the Lu family, his heart felt like it was being stabbed by a knife, and his eyes were about to split open. Zishan likes Miss Mingzhu, I know. Zongjing Yanmei did not avoid the question, and spoke warmly. The Lu family is using 200 null division prisoners to exchange for the Shui family. Zishan, what do you think? Should we do the exchange or not? Qin Zishan walked out of Zongjing Yanmei's study in a daze. His expression was blank. He yawned and opened his drowsy eyes. He had slept very soundly and felt an indescribable sense of comfort throughout his body. Why did I fall asleep? Tang Tian scratched his head in confusion. But one thing was for sure, regardless of where the null division prisoners came from, to the various families of the Xin domain that lacked manpower, they were the best replenishment. Furthermore, their bodies were extremely outstanding, and as long as they were nurtured, they would become elites. Ever since Ghostface Mask shouted out the Ursa Major Null Division, all of the prisoners had a special name, the Null Division prisoners. All of the Null Division prisoners had outstanding physiques, and what was surprising was that they did not have any energy in their bodies. There were people who suspected that the Null Division prisoners were the real Xin domain people. If not, how could they not have any energy in their bodies? With the current market price of the Null Division prisoners, the price of 200 prisoners would definitely exceed the Shui family. 200 prisoners, as long as they were digested, it was enough to change the strength and position of a family. Outside the house, the old granny of the Shui family revealed a gratified smile when she heard the high morale of the ladies inside. He did not hesitate to use his life-saving consummate technique, his face revealing an abnormal flush of red. He shot out like a bolt of lightning towards the door of the warehouse. Although the 4 great generals did not have the surname Qin, but their positions in the Qin family were extremely high, and all of the disciples of the Qin family had to pay their respects to them. Suddenly, he saw a person from the corner of his eyes. Wrong information. Coincidentally, he walked to the window, and through it, he could see the Shui residence in the distance. The slightly dilapidated Shui residence seemed to be hiding a huge bloody mouth, ready to devour anyone. Tiger and wolf. A look of admiration flashed past Muse's eyes. He looks to be slippery, but in truth, he is arrogant and fierce, and has the disposition of an ambitious and ruthless person. The person beside him is Tai Xia, right? After waiting for another half an hour, Tai Xia was still nowhere to be seen. Lu Lingnan could no longer sit still. He stood up and paced back and forth, his expression becoming more and more anxious. Even Qin Zishan himself was unable to reject such a deal. Tang Tian muttered in his heart, and slowly walked towards Tai Xia. As long as I can escape from the warehouse. Zongjing Yanmei stood up and walked to him. He patted his shoulders and consoled him. Uncle knows, I owe you this time. Don't worry, no matter what, Uncle will find a great beauty for you. I heard that the Lu family has a daughter who is as beautiful as a flower, even more beautiful than pearls, and has a warm and gentle personality, good at understanding others, and is suitable for you, Zishan. After a period of time, she will come to our Qin family as a guest. Why not, Zishan, take a look, and see if you like her? If you like her, Uncle will go and talk to you. Seeing Qin Zishan's speechless expression, Zhong Zhengyanmei's tone remained warm. From this deal, we have profited. Furthermore, the friendship of the Lu family is even more important to our Qin family. Once the Qin and Lu families form an alliance, it means that the Purple Cuckoo City and Galloping Horse City, the two big cities, will form an alliance, and we will be able to protect ourselves, even if the situation becomes chaotic. With Zishan's ability, I believe you can see the pros and cons of this. Taixie was surprised, but immediately became ecstatic. Chance. Infamous Taixie was a true savage. His hands were stained with blood, and he had killed countless people. In the Sin domain, there was no good or evil, only the strong and the weak, and the strong ruled. To be able to subdue such a savage like Taixie, it showed Lu Lingnan's strength. He exclaimed out loud and turned his head. Below the 12 were the B-rank infamous. Big Sister. Shui Yan was shocked by Ming Zhu's decision. Big Sister is right. If they want to swallow us up, we will have to see if they have the ability to do so. Shui Yan replied. Young people should prioritize their career. How can they be so sentimental? Zhong Zhengyanmei said. He then changed the topic. Lu Lingnan, what do you think? In the Sin domain, the infamous were people who specialized in the underworld. They did not attach themselves to any aristocratic families, and were usually independent, ruthless, and merciless. Killing was second nature to them. Burning, killing, and plundering, there was nothing they would not do. According to their strength and reputation, they were separated into A, B, C, and D. There were only 12 A-rank infamous in the entire Sin domain, and they were at the top of the food chain in the entire Sin domain. Even the big families did not want to be enemies with them. We will recruit people. Ming Zhu said resolutely. We will take out all of our fabrics and golden steel threads, and recruit experts. No wonder Ming Zhu and the rest had a change in expression. There was once a B-rank infamous who coveted the wealth of the Shui family. If it wasn't for the Qin clan's General Wei Han personally coming out to scare this person away, the Shui residence would have already been destroyed. That experience was engraved in Ming Zhu and the rest's hearts. They saw with their own eyes that the expert they hired with a high salary was killed like a piece of paper in front of the B-class infamous. Now, the Shui family's guards were far weaker than they were back then. He never thought that the Lu family would actually be willing to exchange 200 Null Division prisoners for the Shui family. Lu Lingnan would definitely not let this matter rest. It was too easy for him to deal with the Shui clan. The faces of the others turned pale as well. Yeah. What should he do now? We will split up. Ming Zhu said solemnly, all of our valuables are just worldly possessions. As long as we can protect the Shui family and the secret of the golden steel silkworm, the Shui family can rise again. Taixie's entire body was drenched in perspiration. His body was extremely stiff, and he did not dare to move. He heard footsteps and guessed that the guard who had just fallen asleep had woken up, but he still didn't dare to make any movements. He had a strong premonition that if he made the slightest movement, he would be pierced by the sword. All of the Shui residence's fabrics and vajra threads were extremely valuable. As for being arrogant and unruly, that was never a problem for them. Qin Zishan suddenly raised his head. His face was filled with shock. He opened his mouth, but no words came out. The Shui family actually has such a terrifying expert. Zhong Zhengyanmei looked at his nephew in front of him and laughed. He is still young. Ming Zhu bit her lips tightly. Her lips were stained with blood. Her heart was filled with despair. Just Taixie alone was enough to flatten the entire Shui residence. In the past, they could still rely on the Qin family's protection, but now... Qin family. The man stood in front of the golden steel threads, his body fixed like a statue. Tang Tian understood. The man was locked down by Han Bingning's sword concept, and did not dare to move. To be able to do that, it required at least the standard of the Qin family's 4 great generals. For the other families, it required at least the patriarch to make a move. Mu Zhe walked out from behind the bookshelf, his face filled with emotions. At this time, he was extremely sure that something had happened. But as time passed, he opened his eyes, and his expression started to become uneasy. Why isn't Taixia back yet? It has already been 2 hours, and according to the time, Taixia should be back. We can go to the other families. The Qin family has silently allowed the Lu family to swallow us, but they will definitely not openly help the Lu family against us. Furthermore, we are Purple Cuckoo City's people, and the Qin family is openly helping outsiders to swallow our own family. What will the other families think? Xiao Yao, who had regained her calmness, her eyes lit up. A figure blocked in front of him. It was the guard who had fallen asleep. He had never thought that the place that he thought would never have an accident would actually have an accident. Pity, Zishan is still lacking. This time, it has been tough on Zishan. Tang Tian reacted and was extremely happy. After being happy, he placed his attention on the thief. After waiting for another hour, the anxiousness on Lu Lingnan's face disappeared, and replacing it was an ashen green. There are so many thieves in this place. In the next second, the smile on his face froze. Just at that moment, the sword concept that was everywhere suddenly disappeared. Although the Shui family's fabrics were outstanding in defense, but in the Xin domain, there were other substitutes. Lu Lingnan returned to the inn and closed his eyes to rest. Inside the warehouse, Tang Tian, who had slept for 8 hours, finally woke up. Taixia did not return. He was either injured, restrained, or killed. Chapter 712. The dazzling light that caused Taixia's soul to fly once again appeared. Tang Tian had tasted the sweetness from Ping Shaoshan the last time, and thus did the same to Taixia. But after understanding flowing night, he was disappointed. It was not that the night laws were not sharp. In fact, its might was much stronger than the Ping family's stealth techniques, but to him, it had a huge limitation. The Ping family's stealth techniques were a branch of spatial laws, and its potential was even greater, allowing for a wider range of deductions. This time, the envoy is Lu Lingnan, an outstanding figure of the Lu family. The Galloping Horse City's Lu family is a family even stronger than the Qin family. Lu Lingnan is truly capable to actually be able to recruit Taixia. Lu family? Tang Tian was slightly confused, but upon hearing the word work like a horse, his eyes lit up. He patted Taixia's shoulder and said loudly, "Good." His body made a strange turn in the air, and like an angry arrow, he shot towards the door once again. His movements were extremely smooth, as though he was making a feint when he pounced towards the window. It was not loud, but to Taixia's ears, it was like thunder. A black figure appeared in front of him without any warning, blocking the light. Quickly escape. After spitting out 2 mouthfuls of blood, Taixia's speed did not decrease, but instead increased. He became a black figure, bouncing up and pouncing towards the window. The black arm shield shattered. Taixia was struck by a heavy blow, and spat out another mouthful of blood. This time, without waiting for Taixia to dodge, another fist flew out. This lowly one surrenders. Taixia did not have any intention to fight. He knew that he had kicked a metal board, and to be able to escape with his life was already a blessing. The blood qi in his body was activated to its maximum. He could no longer care about the injuries to his body, and frantically activated his life-saving secret technique. Just at that moment, the conversation at the table beside him attracted his interest. In that moment, he made a decision. His mind was filled with only one word. The Shui family's warehouse actually had 2 strong martial artists. If it takes so much effort to deal with a silk thief, how can I fight with Benson? Against a silk thief, 1 move should be enough. Although the silk thief in front of him was stronger than Ping Shaoshan, but to Tang Tian, how good could a silk thief be? Of course, he had heard of Zhuositu's notoriety. There were always 12 A-class savages, and all of them were powerhouses of the dark world. Taixia had actually obtained Zhuositu's inheritance. The Shui residence was in danger. But this fist caused Taixia's spirit to scatter. The vast aura was obviously able to topple the mountains and overturn the seas, but the air in the entire room seemed to have congealed. Not a single speck of dust flew up, not a single ripple was formed. The multicolored law threads crisscrossed and fused together. Who said that the Shui residence had no experts? Tang Tian was surprised. This guy was really slippery. He was obviously beaten into a sorry state, but he could always escape at the critical moment. The punch arrived. Using the diamond thread to tie people up was a bit of a waste, but it was definitely reliable. Surging blood energy rumbled through his body like lava. At this moment, his strength broke through the limits of the past. He was unprecedentedly powerful. However, he still didn't dare to hesitate. He frantically rushed towards the window. He had never seen such an illogical, strange, and terrifying punch. Seeing that Tang Tian's expression was not good, Tai Xie's heart sank and immediately tried to flatter him. "Master, the Lu family will definitely not let this matter rest. We need to make preparations. This lowly one will follow Master from now on. As long as Master gives the order, I will be willing to go through fire and water and do anything for you." The sword concept that enveloped him made him feel as though there was a blade on his back and a sword at his throat. Tai Xie did not dare to move. His face became as white as paper, his eyes sunk in, and his skin became withered. Tai Xie? Oh my god. Don't tell me it's the B-rank infamous Tai Xie. But the beauty in front of him was the one that was saved by Ghost Face Mask, and Tai Xie even knew her name, Null Division Han Bingning. The opponent's strength was not something he could contend against. Thinking that Master Ghost Face Mask was still in the Shui residence, he immediately perked up his ears. Tang Tian brought Tai Xie to the front of the black ironstone and removed the diamond threads on his body. "Shatter them all, and do a good job." Just now, his black shield had shattered so easily, causing Tai Xie to feel despair. All of the law threads were not high grade, any one of them, or a few of them, were definitely unable to threaten his Night Shield. Tai Xie felt as though he was going crazy. He had never seen anyone who could produce over 100 law threads at the same time. The air in the warehouse suddenly froze. Tai Xie was dumbstruck. The bright law threads that were like multicolored lightning enveloped his fist, releasing a multicolored light aura. Galloping Horse City's Lu family? Shui residence? The young man in front of me is the Null Division Ghost Face Mask. Lowering his waist into a horse stance, his fist was filled with power. An aura brimming with destruction surged out from his body like a storm. The fist that was covered with chaotic law threads smashed onto the black shield. I want to cry. This is the public enemy of the entire Sin domain. This is inhumane. Humph. Ghost Face Mask. Tai Xie immediately nodded his head. He was as docile as a sheep. He did not have any thoughts of escaping, not even a trace. When Han Bingning walked out from the corner, he was stunned, and suddenly thought about the news he had heard about the Purple Cuckoo City. A man wearing a ghost mask and carrying a blood flag had snatched a Null Division lady from Black Bend Senator before she left. The woman revealed her sword intent. Countless fist technique variations and imprints appeared in Tang Tian's mind. Zzz, an even more astonishing number of law threads converged at an astonishing speed on Tang Tian's right fist. The unstoppable power caused Tai Xie to feel a sweetness in his throat, and he spat out a mouthful of blood. The experienced Tai Xie did not give up even in such a dangerous situation. He borrowed the power and retreated. He did not have any thoughts of fighting. There was only one thought in his mind: escape. None. 1. Heavy. 2. A pitch-black arm shield appeared on his crossed arms, blocking in front of him. Tang Tian was dissatisfied. The light that shone through the window was extremely adorable in his eyes. As long as he passed through it, he would be able to survive. For example, the spatial technique that Tang Tian had created from the Ping family's stealth techniques was extremely powerful. And following his deeper understanding of spatial laws, the room for improvement became even bigger. Run, run, run. He used the last bit of his blood to twist his body, and like an open flatbread, he pounced onto the ground. His 4 limbs were on the ground, and his face was buried deep into the ground. Over 100 different types of law threads, corroding at the same time. Who could block it? Who could? Many ants can bite an elephant to death. Many soldiers can kill a general. Unreasonable, without technique, without tactics, without coordination, unreasonable against the rules. His left leg took half a step forward, his waist slowly lowered, his left hand extended forward, his right hand clenched together, as though he was pulling a bow. He slowly moved backwards. The unhappy Tang Tian's expression became serious. He looked at Tai Xie, who was shooting towards the window, but did not have any intention of chasing. So Ping Xiaoshan was extremely cautious. Suddenly, the other party appeared out of thin air and blocked in front of Tai Xie. His pupils constricted again. Tai Xie's pupils dilated, a dazzling light aura suddenly pierced through the darkness and reflected the frozen smile on his face. When Ping Xiaoshan heard the words, "flowing night," his wine cup trembled again. Tai Xie, who had lived on the edge of a knife for years, was extremely sensitive to the danger of death. On the surface of the black arm shield, there were many different colored law threads that formed a bewitching colored spiderweb. As usual, Ping Xiaoshan was drinking wine in the inn. His gaze was searching everywhere without anyone noticing. He remembered his mission and knew that it was not easy to find out the exact location of the prisoners. This is flowing night? Tang Tian stared at Tai Xie, who was tied up like a palm, his face filled with disappointment. More importantly, none of them were the same. Tai Xie's eyes were red. Seeing that the window was just 2 m away from him, Tai Xie was ecstatic. As long as he could rush out, he had 10,000 ways to leave alive. Suddenly, his body froze. Tai Xie's face changed. Previously, when the air froze, it had already caused his heart to jump, but this time, it was even more thorough, and the air around him had become like glue. Be rank infamous man. Those 4 words caused Ping Xiaoshan's hand that was holding onto the wine cup to tremble. Han Bingning was naturally even more uninterested. Furthermore, Master's movements in the past 2 days were too big. The Mu, or family, was covered in dust, and all the families were currently facing a great enemy. The news that he had obtained was extremely sensitive, and if he was not careful, he would attract the attention of all the families. Ping Xiaoshan knew his own weight. All the big families could casually extend a finger and crush him like an ant, and if he were to provoke them, he would definitely die. When Tai Xie understood, he almost cried. So Tang Tian was not interested in flowing night. That's him. Be rank infamous man. That is a truly ferocious man. Upon being recruited, he will definitely be a fearsome general. Before he was 30, he was not famous, but after that he obtained the inheritance of flowing night and his strength sword. Do you know about flowing night? That was the absolute technique of the A-rank infamous Zhuasi II. It specializes in night laws and is most suitable for assassinations in the night. The number of people that have died in Tai Xie's hands are countless. Tai Xie's heart turned cold. Tai Xie adjusted his state of mind and immediately became obedient, allowing Tang Tian to tie him up, and without hiding anything he handed over flowing night. His life was in someone else's hands. To play any tricks at such a time was courting death. The person who inquired for information should be hacked to pieces. He was able to snatch people from Black Ben Sen's hands. With such a person overseeing things, I actually foolishly entered. Hee, my heart feels stifled. Thinking about when he entered, the other party was actually sleeping soundly. His snoring was like thunder. His heart was filled with grief and indignation. You are so strong, but you are still pretending to be a pig to eat a tiger. Is there a need for that? Is there a need for that? Are you even giving us a way out? Tai Xie quivered and immediately revealed a loyal and devoted smile on his face. At the moment of life and death, his survival instincts made him do one thing. He instinctively retracted his body and crossed his arms, blocking in front of him. Both of his arms revealed a strange black color, and black law threads emerged from his arms, rising and converging like mist. The shield of night appeared once again, barely blocking the attack. Tai Xie could not care about anything else. While spitting out blood, he forcefully twisted his body to escape, drawing an arc of blood mist in the air. A wise man submits to circumstances. Riches and honor depend on one's mood. If one is too powerful, they will definitely be subdued. There are no experts in the Shui family. To be able to be ranked as a B-ranked infamous person, Tai Xie's experience in battles was plentiful, and the number of people he had killed was something few could compare to. Light rays shone in from the window, shining on the black figure's back. Xianxia only saw a human-shaped black figure in the light. The other party's expression was shrouded in the shadows, and he could not see anything. I am truly a joke. Go. 100. But there are over 100 of them. He had to be cautious. Chapter 7:13. But how can I move them? The news spread like wildfire through the entire Purple Cuckoo City. A figure carrying a flag was strolling along the street. The laughable and ugly blood bear was fluttering in the wind. The young lady behind him was like an ice mountain. After finding the coolie, Tang Tian was finally free. The servant raised his head, wanting to say something but hesitated. Ben Sen was extremely confident in his heart. His gaze quickly shifted away from Ghost Face Mask and landed on Han Bingning, his eyes revealing a look of surprise. That's right, being strong is the most important thing. Ghost Face Mask is here. The servant's voice trembled. Ghost Face Mask is here. The Mu-Er residence was brightly lit. She retracted her gaze and silently followed behind Tang Tian. Ben Sen's question was also the question in many people's hearts. The Qin family was too strong, and even if it was just to arouse their disgust, it was enough to cause the majority of families to shrink back. Even Purple Cuckoo City's Diwu family did not want to be involved. Furthermore, the opponent this time was not just the Qin family, but also the Galloping Horse City's Lu family, a family that was even stronger than the Qin family. He opened his eyes, raised the blood bear flag, and without turning his head, he said, "Let's go." But a strange silence appeared at the end of the street. Following that, the silence was like a deadly poison, spreading out at an astonishing speed. Pa. He had long heard that the Null Division prisoners had astonishing talents, but Ben Sen did not think much of it until he saw the change in Han Bingning. Did he truly believe that the rumors were true? Han Bingning retracted her gaze. She had sensed a trace of fighting intent coming from that direction. In her eyes, the fearless figure in front of her, how could he be disturbed by such a mess? The smile on De Lin's face disappeared, and she asked unhappily, "What's the matter? Why are you so flustered?" Lu Lingnan slowly regained his senses. He stared intently at the figure carrying the flag down the street. So terrifying. Ben Sen was startled, everyone was startled. The battle was imminent, but Tang Tian's state of mind was extremely calm. The power in his body flowed quietly, the regiment of flames in his eyes blazing. Xianxia was startled. Lu Lingnan stared at the figure below, his heart filled with battle intent. Just at that moment, the Ice Mountain Beauty who was following behind Ghost Face Mask raised her head and looked back, their gazes clashing in the air. He had a 100% chance of winning. No matter how much money Ming Zhu offered, she was unable to move them. Although the godly fist had not been perfected, it had already taken shape. Tang Tian wanted to give this fist a name. Since it was created by the godlike young man, of course, it should be called Godly Fist. Ben Sen's voice was powerful and resonated out. Ben Sen stepped onto the tower of the castle and looked down at the streets, at the Ghost Face Mask who was carrying the flag. Killing intent surged in his heart. Under the countless gazes, Ghost Face Mask stopped. He casually placed the blood bear black flag by his feet. He raised his head without fear. Facing Ben Sen's sharp gaze, he shouted loudly, "I want to defeat you." Everyone had thought of thousands of reasons, but no one had thought that it would be this reason. In the darkness of the Purple Cuckoo City, all of the mansions lit up one after another, figures soared into the sky, they rode the night wind, they swept through the sky, coming from all directions like a tide. In the gigantic Purple Cuckoo City, the people flowed like a tide, following closely behind the wantonly blood bear black flag. What's the point of Ghost Face Mask finding trouble with the Mu-Er family? What's his goal? De Lin's face darkened. If you have something to say, say it. The darkness in front of him was similar to their situation. His sharp eyes could still see the specks of dust floating in the darkness. He slowly closed his eyes and listened to his own breathing, as though he was listening to the voice in his heart. The night wind blew, the blood flag fluttered in the quiet streets, wantonly extending out. Two figures, one in front and one behind, quietly walked forward. Truly arrogant. Everyone was filled with curiosity. What is Ghost Face Mask trying to do this time? Ben Sen had absolute confidence. In the previous battle, he had already grasped Ghost Face Mask's strength. If he was not familiar with him, it would be easy for him to be exhausted by Ghost Face Mask's endless methods. But once he was familiar with him, Ghost Face Mask's weakness, in Ben Sen's eyes, was infinitely magnified. He had already decided to kill Ghost Face Mask today. Time seemed to have stopped. The bustling streets suddenly stopped. The shop assistant who was initially hawking his wares had his mouth wide open, but no sound came out. All of the customers who were initially enthusiastic swept their gazes and immediately became silent. That's right, I've never seen him before. Pa. In her eyes, no one in the entire Sin domain had the qualifications to be enemies with Tang Tian. Ben San, who had been standing behind Da Lin with his hands by his side, suddenly opened his eyes filled with killing intent. He snorted, "You really think our family is a market? You think you can come and go as you please? Young miss, please accompany young Miss Ming Zhu here. This subordinate will be back soon." They had already lost their bravery. They had already accepted their fate. They had already lost their bravery. You could say that he was stupid, arrogant, or overestimating himself. But every time he appeared, he would release a boundless light aura, and no one could ignore his existence. Previously, when Ghost Face Mask snatched Han Bingning from his hands, it had already caused Ben Sen to lose all his face, and for him to actually come here again, it was a naked humiliation to the family. Not only must I win this time, I must win beautifully. I better go and gather information. That will be safer. Ghost Face Mask, truly an interesting fellow. Who knows, maybe we will have the chance to fight in the future. Ghost Face Mask? Truly an arrogant fellow, to actually not place Purple Cuckoo City in his eyes at all. Although he knew that his actions were extremely stupid, but for some reason, Lu Ling Nan's heart was stirred. All the schemes, the rules, the scruples, to the arrogant man below, were like floating clouds. Suddenly, a servant rushed in anxiously, his face filled with panic. If I can recruit this lady into my family, Han Bingning followed behind him. When Tang Tian's footsteps stepped onto the West Street, the people who heard the news immediately went into an uproar. Tai Xia looked at the door blankly. In the night, similar discussions and sighs could be heard in every corner of Purple Cuckoo City. But very quickly, Ben Sen knew that his thoughts were not realistic. Seeing Han Bingning, he knew that she was dead set on Ghost Face Mask. Ming Zhu was extremely anxious. In truth, she also knew that the predicament they were in, as long as they could obtain support, they would be able to break out of it. After all, the Lu family were outsiders, and the Qin family was unable to do anything overboard. In the blink of an eye, the street was empty. When Ben Sen heard that Ghost Face Mask was here, he was furious, but he quickly calmed down and felt that there was something fishy about it. It doesn't make sense. There aren't any Null Division prisoners in my residence, and Ben Sen believed that Ghost Face Mask also knows of the disparity in strength between them, and the previous trick will not work again. Only the clear sound of footsteps could be heard. But in the next moment, the silent streets suddenly exploded. When Ping Xiaoshan rushed back to report the news, he saw Tai Xie, who was coughing blood and smashing stones, and immediately felt miserable. To think that a B-class fierce person who possessed such a shocking inheritance like flowing night would be reduced to such a state. Ping Xiaoshan, who had a rigid expression, rushed over and left in a hurry. The small door glowed with light. A young man holding a flag walked forward silently. The silent and ugly Ghost Face Mask revealed an imposing aura. His high-spirited figure carried an indescribable arrogance and stubbornness as he walked against the light. Ben Sen threw away all his distracting thoughts. He looked down and bellowed, "Ghost Face Mask, you have already snatched the person, why are you attacking us?" He did not care much about the young miss buying Han Bingning. To him, it was fine as long as the young miss was happy. But after not seeing him for a few days, Han Bingning's aura had actually become much stronger than before. Ghost Face Mask dares to make an entire city his enemy. How can I not dare to make an entire residence my enemy? All of their faces revealed an indescribable excitement. Lu Lingnan, who was staying at the top of the inn, heard the screams outside and immediately walked to the window, coincidentally witnessing the scene. He was extremely shocked. On the way, he had heard about Ghost Face Mask, but did not think much of it. But after witnessing the scene, he then understood that Ghost Face Mask had left a deep impression on the city. When Ghost Face Mask appeared for the first time, it could be said to be unexpected. But at the heart of the storm, the Ghost Face Mask still appeared. Just this aura alone was enough to cause people to be subdued. Mingzhu did not know either. She had gone to the Su family, the Roland family, the Teopiot family, but was met with a wall. Every family did not reject him, but instead would treat him warmly. Their words were more beautiful than the last, but no one was willing to lend a helping hand. But the arrogance of seeing his opponent as worthless grass truly made people's blood boil. Lu Lingnan clenched his fists tightly. Compared to Ghost Face Mask, Tai Xie's ferocious name was insignificant. Lu Lingnan had completely recovered from the setback of Tai Xie's disappearance. So what if the Shui family has any strong martial artists? Who am I, Lu Lingnan, inferior to? Mingzhu and Dalin stopped at the same time. With that, Benson disappeared. Lu Lingnan only felt a cold sword concept pressing on his forehead, causing him to quiver, as though he had fallen into an ice cellar. The boiling blood in his body suddenly became bone-piercing cold. In the night, Purple Cuckoo City's main road was as bright as day. The various shops on both sides were brightly lit. Purple Cuckoo City's nightlife was extremely rich. In truth, it was not only Purple Cuckoo City, the entire Sin Domain's nightlife was extremely lively. All of the aristocratic families that were exiled continued their most familiar lifestyles. The bitter and cruel life, the declining glory and glorious memories caused people to feel even more pain. Countless people indulged in getting drunk late at night, trying to use alcohol to forget their worries. That's right, arrogance. He wore the Ghost Face Mask and took out the Blood Bear flag, his aura soaring high. So arrogant. So reckless. So fearless. Han Bingning silently held onto her sword and stood behind her. The sword was something that she took out from the warehouse. It was not of good quality, but it could be used. Lu Lingnan never thought that witnessing Ghost Face Mask's reckless rampage would actually allow his mental state to break through a bottleneck. Feeling the surging power in his body, Lu Lingnan wanted to laugh out loud. Even the originally warm light seemed to emit a bone-piercing chill at this moment. Everyone, I won't make you wait for long. After 2 seconds of silence, there was an uproar. The sound waves that reached the sky exploded out. Lu Lingnan's face revealed a look of shock. In the darkness, the Ghost Face Mask was sinister. The Blood Bear flag was silent. Mingzhu looked at Dalin in front of her and sighed in her heart. Dalin's smile was perfect and flawless, filled with friendliness, but Mingzhu knew that the other party was just restraining herself. With the initial mastery of the God Fist, Tang Tian was bursting with confidence. At this time, if I don't challenge Black Benson, how can I face myself? The entire street had sunk into a dead silence. Hysterical screams, the sound of wine cups falling to the ground, panicked footsteps, tables and chairs falling to the ground, the entire scene was in chaos. Everyone frantically turned and ran, and the customers that faced the street tried their best to hide. In the past, at this time, the street would be bustling with people. Chapter 714. He will definitely lose, Victor muttered. However, I am unable to see through this fellow's abilities. Inside the hurricane, Benson's figure did not move an inch. The scale of the hurricane continued to expand. It was expanding outwards at an astonishing speed. The rocks, trees and tiles around Tang Tian's feet all left the ground and were blown into the sky. Chi. Victor's eyes were extremely sharp. He saw the indistinct figure inside the hurricane, standing straight like a spear. Tang Tian's surroundings turned dark, sand and stones flew everywhere. The wind howled and mixed with the sound of broken trees and stones. It sounded like the wails of ghosts and wolves. Han Bingning's body leaned forward, holding onto her sword. The howling wind was like blades, She did not have any time to breathe. The blue light aura on her body was bitterly holding on. She clenched her teeth and used all her strength to resist. The sword concept laws that she had gained enlightenment on were extremely weak in front of the berserk hurricane. Ghost Face Mask's previous performance was truly astonishing. To be able to force Ben Sen into such a difficult situation, forcing him to reveal his true strength, and finally snatching Han Bingning's hand, it was truly amazing. But anyone could tell that Ghost Face Mask's strength could not compare to Ben Senator Han Bingning's heart trembled, although she had gained enlightenment on laws, but compared to Ben Sen, she was still far from it. Ben Sen's understanding of laws was much deeper than hers. The wind became stronger and stronger, causing her to be unable to stand stably. Her face changed, and she subconsciously held onto her sword hilt. Truly powerful. The blood-bare black flag was fluttering in the wind, and swayed unsteadily. Black Benson, you are my first target to challenge. I know it is not smart, but that is what I thought. You think that by playing some tricks, you have the qualifications to challenge me? The new generation of steel guards is about to come out. Gale Singer Shi Yun? The beautiful servant was shocked. If it was anything else, she would not be able to understand, but with that, she immediately understood how powerful Gale is. The scene in front of her was extremely similar to the Sword Tempest Cyclone. Victor floated down from the sky. His furious red robe was like a blossoming flower. On his handsome and unruly face, the carefree and careless expression of the past had disappeared. Instead, it was replaced by a solemn expression. Behind the mask, the young man murmured silently. His eyes shone with a strange light. Under the gaze of tens of thousands of people, he raised his right arm and pointed it at the sky. Traces of blood seeped out from between Han Bingning's lips. Frost crept up her eyebrows and eyelashes, and a thin layer of frost covered her forehead. The strong pressure made her body tremble uncontrollably. I'm not lying, I'm going to defeat you. Only by defeating you can I defeat people stronger than you. As long as I defeat all of you, I can save everyone. Reminiscing about the pain and sweat, reminiscing about everyone's teasing and companionship, reminiscing about the warm sunshine of Ursa Major constellation and the smell of gunpowder that had yet to dissipate, reminiscing about the super big bear egg. Wouldn't Ghost Face Mask lose for sure? The beautiful servant felt sad. To her, Ghost Face Mask was willing to risk his life to save his own female subordinates, and was truly a loyal man. Han Bingning held onto the sword hilt. The strong pressure caused her mind to go blank in the chaos. Only that sentence floated and did not dissipate. Benson definitely did not know how he managed to cultivate his zero-energy body. It was still the familiar formula and the familiar smell. The sharp whistling of the wind became low and gloomy, causing people's hearts to tremble. She had never seen her young master reveal such an expression before. In her heart, her young master was always indifferent, as though nothing could move him. This move was much more powerful than the last time. At that time, the Mu, or family, would only become stronger. Benson would definitely not allow anyone to damage the Mu, or family's reputation at such a time. But she did not give up, and did not want to give up. Xiaofeng? Defeng? That's an ordinary name. The beautiful servant said. Benson's gaze was cold. The black color on his skin seemed to have come alive, flowing along his body in a strange manner. The black color on his face quickly disappeared, revealing his white skin. The dense black tide continued to surge towards his raised palm. If not for my lack of strength, why would I need to resort to such methods? Ghost Face Mask's open challenge became more and more laughable and ignorant. All of the distracting thoughts were burned into ashes by the blazing fighting intent. In the young man's eyes, there was only the figure on the tower, the figure that was like a mountain, the figure that he needed to defeat. This is Gale. It is a combination of strength and gentleness. It is unstoppable. Although I am unable to train Gale to such a level, but its berserk might is definitely not something that the man in front of me can contend against. Bang bang bang. SuEnzhong, who was dressed in plain clothes and straw sandals, carried his sword on his back. Looking at Victor, who had warned him, he was surprised. I never thought that the sloppy fellow actually has a good heart. The figure was engulfed by the gale, but she firmly believed that if it was him, he would definitely not take a step back. A bright red-dressed man's face changed, he flew into the sky and bellowed, "All of you retreat." If it was him, he would definitely not retreat. The beautiful servant by his side was surprised, she was in disbelief. "Young noble, is Ben Sin so strong?" Su Zhong, who was in the distance, stared at Han Bingning. His sharp gaze revealed a look of admiration. He never thought that such a tenacious willpower would actually appear on a lady. Ben Sen's gaze turned cold, he threw away all of the distracting thoughts. Regardless of whether or not Ghost Face Mask had other intentions, in front of absolute strength, all schemes were just empty castles in the air. In the midst of the commotion, all of the gazes turned from anticipation to disdain. How arrogant is he? Ka! Tang Tian extended out his palm and grabbed onto the flagpole, and stabbed it in. Looking down at Ghost Face Mask, Ben Sen's expression was indifferent, he snorted, "Overestimating yourself. Ben Sen is already so powerful?" The beautiful maid's cherry mouth was wide open, she was in disbelief. What kind of person is Gale Singer Shi Yun? Even the current Qin family's Qinjin cannot reach that stage. The boiling air started to produce a cyclone, it quickly grew, and in the blink of the eye, it had transformed into a hurricane around Ben Senator Buzz Buzz Buzz. The air around him started to tremble intensely, as though it was boiling, his body started to distort. The air became extremely oppressive, a terrifying aura enveloped the entire West Street. The wind blew, and the clouds flew. But, to think that he can rely on such a breakthrough to challenge me, that is a fool's dream. He did not exhale or make a sound, but these 4 words were like rolling thunder, exploding in the air and spreading far away. Like a gentle breeze, the gentleness in his eyes disappeared, and the young man raised his head. Victor's eyes lit up, but his tone was extremely calm. He should only be at the initial enlightenment stage. If he was 10 years younger, he might have the chance to catch up to Shi Yun. Alright, actually he is already very powerful, I really want to see Qinjin's face now. That's right, it's him. 30 years ago, he was ranked in the top 10 of Xin Domain, and he trained in Gale. He had always been very proud of this. You can tell just by looking at his name. Rocks continued to fly towards Tang Tian, but as soon as they got close to the 10 m radius around Tang Tian, they would all turn into fine powder. The blood-bear black flag by Tang Tian's feet was not affected by the gale at all, and only gently swayed. The loud roar came out from within the earth-shattering whistling. All the spectators who were shocked by the terrifying scene awoke from their stupor, and all of them started to retreat. That's Gale. He looked towards the hurricane. The size of the hurricane was astonishing, it soared into the sky, and he could not see the end of it. It was as though there was an additional pillar of wind in the sky. The black clouds in the sky were being sucked in, lightning flashed and thunder rumbled. The scene looked like it was the end of the world, it was extremely terrifying. Her body lit up with a faint blue light aura. Regardless of how the gale wreaked havoc, it was unable to move her body. Truly a natural-born swordsman. Tang Tian's eyes lit up, the fighting intent in his chest soared. He was in a state of excitement. His body was like a nail, nailed to the ground, not moving an inch, the blood-bear flag by his feet swaying with all its might. Let's retreat. Pieces of bricks continued to fall from the ground, and were swept into the sky by the wind. The blood-bear black flag sank down, and stabilized itself. Ordinary. Victor smacked his lips. That's not ordinary at all. The number of people who are able to train in these 2 techniques can be counted with one's fingers. Do you know Shi Yun? But she did not retreat even half a step. I do not understand schemes and am not smart enough, then I will use my fists to defeat all of you. Ghost Face Mask's tenacity surprised Ben Sen. Seems like he had a breakthrough in the previous battle. Bang bang bang, Victor said in a deep voice. The gale changed in the air, transforming into all sorts of wind blades, condensing and dispersing. It was completely unfathomable. A tree that required 3 people to surround fiercely smashed towards Tang Tian like a battering ram, but before it could even get close to Tang Tian, It was sliced into pieces by the berserk wind blades. Inside the hurricane, the wind was ever-changing, condensing and dispersing formlessly. As long as one was caught in it, there was no chance to escape. Behind the mask, Tang Tian licked his lips. How nostalgic. Ben Sen was surprised. His black face did not reveal any emotions, only a look of ridicule flashed past his eyes. Sigh. A wind blade pierced through the space around Tang Tian and left a wound on Tang Tian's arm, causing blood to flow out. The black color on Ben Sen's body surged into his palm like a tide, converging into a black dot in his palm. He has always been like that. Tang Tian did not move. His gaze did not leave Ben Sen, who was at the top of the tower. The young man behind the mask tightly pursed his lips. The West Street that had just been repaired suffered a calamity once again and started to crumble. The bricks that had just been placed on the ground, chi, many deep grooves were formed, the fragments were swept into the wind marks became more and more. The bricks shattered. Once the wind blew, the divine might was formed. Victor grabbed onto the female servant, he retreated and said, "The wind blade is not some secret technique, many people train in it. Wind laws are also the most commonly seen law. But it is easy to learn but hard to master, and when you truly train in it, it becomes even more difficult. Especially its killing technique. The wind blade has two killing techniques, small wind and gale." Chapter 7:15. In the past, he would only release half of it and fall unconscious, but every time his fist force would be extremely smooth, which stemmed from his countless repetitions of training, and the fundamental fist techniques had already become his body's instincts. No matter how many transformation marks he had imparted, his fist force was completely natural. "Tang Dun, are you cowardly? Are you afraid? Are you thinking of retreating?" He raised his head, his eyes blazing with fire. The face behind the mask was sinister. He fiercely waved his fist again. Countless of blood droplets flew past his eyes. The warm blood flowed down his cheeks and into his mouth. He felt extremely happy. He felt as though his entire body was on fire. He felt as though he was about to tear the storm apart. This was enough to prove that Ursa Major Constellation's understanding of the Sword Tempest storm had reached an extremely profound level. The wind pressure was extremely strong, causing the surrounding space to become extremely chaotic, and using the Ping family's stealth techniques would easily cause problems. The 720M was like a heavenly moat. 720M, a meter-thick black iron door. But in the next moment, the devil mask's exposed eyes suddenly became crazy and blazing. All the muscles in his body suddenly tensed up. With a roar, he suddenly took a step forward. The sky was filled with blood mist and shot out in all directions. Ding ding ding, sparks flew everywhere. The closer to the eye of the storm, the faster the wind speed, the stronger the power of the wind blades, and they would become extremely congealed wind blade walls that were even harder than steel. The castle's big door had been repaired, and the big door had also been changed. It was obviously even thicker, and the colors seemed to be different from the last time. 28M, impossible. The fist aura was like a cannonball, piercing into the storm, leaving behind a circular path. How can this be the end? Ursa Major Constellation's research on the Sword Tempest storm had lasted for a long time. Other than the fact that it was the only way to achieve the zero-energy body, Tang Tian had used the Sword Tempest storm to kill an army in his berserk state, causing the saints to be unable to dodge in time, and displaying his powerful fighting strength was also directly related to it. That's it. But he had no other choice. The green and black ghost face mask's eyes were extremely bright. His gaze seemed to be able to pierce through layers of wind. The young man behind the mask revealed a smile. As long as the eye of the storm was destroyed, the storm that extended into the horizon would collapse. When Tang Tian saw Ben Sen unleashing a killing technique similar to the whirlpool sword storm, he was filled with admiration. Bright beads of blood swept across the front of the mask, and time seemed to freeze. Tang Tian's body obviously paused for a moment, and he was a little dazed. Wherever the fist aura passed, it left behind a circular passage with a diameter of more than 10 feet. Roaring in his heart, he was like an enraged lion, constantly questioning himself. His eyes were bloodshot and bloodshot. The frozen space was like a piece of transparent glass, collapsing at a speed visible to the naked eye. The power of these wind blades was astonishing, and the number was even more astonishing. The space around Tang Tian was being chipped away bit by bit. God Fist could freeze space, and that was his greatest discovery, because his God Fist had extracted all the law threads in the space. However, the frozen space was rapidly collapsing and shattering. Countless beams of light converged on his right fist, like a ball of colorful lightning. The space around him suddenly became still, as if it had been frozen. Ben Sen, who was extremely shocked, finally heaved a sigh of relief. His eyes still had a look of disbelief. How can there be such a fist technique in the world? What kind of fist technique can actually extract all the law threads in the space? Is this the end? The approaching wind blades were like the scythe of the Grim Reaper, almost touching Tang Tian's nose. Tang Tian did not feel anything, all of his attention was on his fist. His fist was like a bow, slowly pulled back. I want to destroy the storm, I want to shatter its eye. Tang Tian waved his fist again, and rushed forward again. No one was more familiar with the Whirlpool Sword Storm than him, not only because he had been inside for a few months, but also because he had gathered everyone's wisdom. This type of storm, its weakness, its core, how it was formed, and how to destroy it, Tang Tian was extremely clear of it. But Tang Tian also saw the chance to win. Ben Sen, who was on the tower, sensed something. His eyes flashed with a look of disbelief. He could clearly sense that the wind blades were surging towards the ghost face mask. Tang Tian's guess was not wrong. After the previous incident, the castle's door had been changed to be made of black iron, with a thickness of over 1 m. Every time the door was opened and closed, it required 10 guards to use all their strength to open the door. It was the Sin domain, there was no energy, and could only be achieved by using laws, which required an astonishing understanding of laws, and at the same time, it required an abundance of power of the physique. Tang Tian was also interested in the Whirlpool Sword Storm. Even a saint would not dare to face an army by himself. But the Whirlpool Sword Storm was able to send an army to their deaths. Such a powerful force was worth pursuing. Tang Tian had never thought of any other choice. If you are not even afraid of death, what are you afraid of? That's right, that's it. The wind blades were getting closer and closer to him, and the surrounding frozen space was melting at an astonishing speed. His own Gale, in front of the strange and colorful fist aura, was actually like paper. Ben Sen could not believe his eyes. Tang Tian's attention was unprecedentedly focused. His gaze was fixated on the fist that he was slowly pulling back. The countless changes were like smoke. His body was still trembling, but his fist was extremely stable. You said it before, even if I die, I will save everyone. Tang Tian had just waved his fist. Qi, countless of blood spurted out from his body. The God Fist consumed a lot of physical strength, adding the continuous impact. Tang Tian's physical strength was close to being exhausted. He forcefully waved his fist, but the flesh and blood in his body could no longer take it, and was injured. The entire process was extremely long, and it caused people's hair to stand. Ben Sen was startled. He subconsciously did not believe it. Such a situation would only occur under one circumstance, and that was when the hurricane felt that there was a possibility of threatening it. The hurricane was born from laws, and it also knew how to seek benefits and avoid harm. Tang Tian's pressure suddenly increased, but he did not panic. The hurricane had sensed his danger. Big Dipper's research: the larger the size of the hurricane, the stronger its assimilation ability, and they were naturally hostile towards existences that could affect them. He suddenly raised his head and roared. An intense sense of danger enveloped Tang Tian. Although Tang Tian was surprised, he did not panic. He snorted and once again pulled back his fist. The Big Dipper plan, that had a profound influence on Ursa Major constellation, one of the important research targets was the Sword Tempest Cyclone, its formation, its strength, its effects, etc. The current Null Division were all products of the Big Dipper plan. Tang Tian's surroundings immediately darkened. Countless of wind blades covered the sky and swept over. The wind blades around him were already so dense that they seemed to have cut off all light. Most people would think that the eye of the cyclone was the black dot in Ben Sen's hand. But Tang Tian knew that it was not. The black dot was the source, but the eye of the cyclone was beneath Ben Sen's feet, and according to the position, it should be the empty space behind the castle gates. 15M. Training was never an easy thing. Every step forward was forever soaked in sweat, and it was boring and painful. All of this had already run through Tang Tian's entire growth process, and if one were to talk about the most painful training, it would definitely be the Sword Tempest Cyclone. Woo-woo. Tang Tian's entire body was extremely sore. For the sake of not being affected by his fist, he used his body to withstand the impact of the wind blades on the frozen space. But at that moment, he did not dare rest. He knew that the opportunity was gone. They had thought that it was because of the dense energy in the Sword Tempest Cyclone and the gathering of remnant spirits, but they never thought that the cyclone that Ben Sen used in Sin Domain would have such an inconceivable characteristic. The empty passage formed by the fist had only existed for a short period of time. Tang Tian's body trembled, but he was already prepared for it, and his fist was not affected at all. Only at that moment, when he saw Tang Tian's entire body covered in blood, did he heave a sigh of relief. Such a terrifying fist technique definitely has a huge flaw. If not, why did Ghostface Mask not use it the last time? It was like throwing a red-hot iron bullet into the snow. It was just that what they used was a small-scale version of the Sword Tempest Cyclone, and its effect was not as strong as Tang Tian's, but at the same time, the pain was not as terrifying as Tang Tian's. All living things in the world maintained a miraculous balance. The God Fist had taken away the law threads and formed the frozen space, and now that the frozen space was destroyed, Tang Tian's fist became extremely sluggish. The overwhelming wind blades fiercely struck the frozen space that had just been formed. I have just arrived here, and my strength is already exhausted. Ghostface Mask has no chance of winning. But for some reason, Ben Sen did not have the slightest bit of joy from his imminent victory. His expression was stiff, and his left hand that was hanging down was actually covered in perspiration. That was the true strength of his God Fist. Taking advantage of the stable space, Tang Tian's figure flashed and appeared 60 m away. The passage suddenly crumbled, and countless wind blades swarmed in from all directions. The heart-wrenching pain, other than bitterly enduring, there was nothing else he could do. The wind blade vortex that was able to shatter blades and swords was helpless against the fist-sized multicolored light. Countless law threads tangled together and formed a unique annihilation effect. Even for someone as mentally strong as Tang Tian, he did not want to try it again. But even if he knew the location of the Eye of the Wind, it was still extremely difficult to destroy it. The light aura on his right fist became even more dazzling. He took a deep breath, lowered his waist into a horse stance, and slowly pulled back his fist. Bang! Ever since he gained enlightenment on the God Fist, it was the first time he had encountered such a situation. Tang Tian's body trembled intensely, the green and black Ghostface Mask's eyes lit up with brilliance. Although the fist was extremely difficult, but the unprecedented focus allowed it to break through once again. Tang Tian took the chance and rushed forward again. The fist that was filled with power suddenly burst out. Chi, a wind blade slashed across the back of Tang Tian's hand, blood spurted into the air, and was quickly turned into a blood mist by the storm. He waved his fist again. As expected, the consumption of physical strength is extremely huge. Tang Tian's body trembled uncontrollably. But the research of the Big Dipper plan proved that the conditions for such a large-scale Sword Tempest Cyclone to form was extremely harsh, and the requirements for the person controlling it was even more outrageous. Even for Tang Tian, if not for him entering a berserk state, causing all aspects of his body to soar, he would not be able to endure the immense burden of the Sword Tempest Cyclone. The surrounding wind blades stopped, and the multicolored fist aura entered the tempest. But at that moment he actually felt that he was unable to control the fist. The law threads that converged on his right fist had become restless, and wanted to break away from his fist. Even Tang Tian had to admit that he could not do it. Chapter 716. Tang Tian once again opened up his fist. The new power in his body that was like a vast ocean suddenly surged. The surging power suddenly flowed out like lightning, flowing along his right arm and into his fist. Who won? He was truly injured, the wind eye was destroyed, and he suffered a strong backlash. Thinking back to the battle, he felt that it was inconceivable. The opponent ignited his primordial fire origin in the middle of a battle, although it is rare, but it is still considered normal. The opponent's fist technique was extremely strange. He had never seen such a fist technique before. Tang Tian's state of mind was unprecedentedly clear and calm. The changes that he had deduced before were like a surging fog that flashed past his mind. It was as though countless of books had been flipped, as though countless of stars had been shot out. All the big and small changes and imprints were extremely clear. This guess was quickly rejected by him. Gale was not something that anyone could train in. It required an extremely deep understanding of wind laws. It was the first time someone had met Gale, and it was impossible for them to be able to accurately find the weakness of Gale without any hesitation and find the location of the wind eye. The beautiful servant had a face of heartache. Go back and sleep. Victor laughed out loud, but in his eyes there was no trace of a smile. Su and Zhong was overjoyed to be able to witness a swordsman's transformation. As a fellow swordsman, he was also overjoyed. To him, a powerful martial artist that had ignited his primordial fire origin was not as important as a transformed swordsman. Ben Sen's pupils constricted. The multicolored light regiment on Tang Tian's right fist swelled up a few times, becoming the size of a bamboo, releasing a terrifying aura. The multicolored bewitching light aura reflected off the green and black ghost face. It was extremely terrifying. The ghost face that was covered in blood slowly walked out from the castle. The thick and sturdy mystical iron door had disappeared, leaving Ben Sen, who was high up in the air as though he had lost his soul. The other families are probably feeling uneasy now. Ben Sen, who was standing in the tower, turned and walked back into the castle. Ben Sen gasped for breath, then said with difficulty, I am fine. How is that possible? As expected, only at the moment of life and death can one break through the limit. The thick and sturdy mystical iron door had an additional multicolored spider web. With such a powerful person lurking in the shadows, no one liked the feeling of having a thorn on their back. With a soft sound, the dark steel door shattered like a crisp biscuit. The furious roar of a wild beast exploded from the layers of wind curtains. Victor smiled bitterly. Nope. The primordial flame was very difficult to ignite, and the conditions to ignite it were very harsh. The degree of body tempering must be very high. My body, huh? Therefore, there were also people who said that stupid people would light up the primordial flame, while smart people would comprehend the laws. Your young master can barely be considered a smart person. This is the only way. Just to defeat me? Previously, Tang Tian's null flames started from the part of his body that he had trained the most, his fists. But the human body was one body, and at that time, the null flames were unable to unleash its true might. Until Tang Tian's body was tempered by laws and reached the conditions to ignite the null flames. Just now, after several consecutive divine punches, Xiao Chen had drained the power of his flesh and blood. At the critical moment of life and death, coupled with his strong belief, it was like throwing a small ball of fire into a pile of dry firewood. She could not help but grip the hilt of her sword tightly. Her entire body shone brightly. Tang Tian muttered in his heart. He thought about energy transmutation. Energy transmutation was the symbol of a silver saint. Through a special transformation, the energy would undergo a qualitative change and become a higher level power. His own null flames was like energy transmutation. The power of the physique in his body would be stimulated and ignited, transforming into a higher level power. Benson guessed that it was most likely that Ghost Face Mask's teacher was proficient in Gale, and thus Ghost Face Mask was familiar with it. Returning to the fort, De Lin anxiously went up to welcome him. Uncle Ben Sen. All of the spectators' faces turned pale, their legs went soft. Ghost Face Mask looked to be in a sorry state. His entire body was covered in blood, but his body was still as straight as a spear. Yes, no matter how much the body is tempered, there will always be a limit. Activating laws uses the power of the physique, and the majority of laws follow the same rule: the stronger the technique, the stronger the power of the physique. Victor explained. If the technique requires power that exceeds the limit of the physique, what do? Countless of sages have gone through countless trials and found a solution, and that is to ignite the primordial flame. The wicker basket-sized light regiment entered the storm. Without a sound, it pierced through the layers of walls of wind. The berserk wind blades did not affect it at all. But what made him puzzled was that Ghost Face Mask was actually able to accurately find the position of the eye of the storm. Could it be that Ghost Face Mask has trained in gale before? The wind around him suddenly disappeared. Countless of light beams seemed to be attracted by magnets and entered Tang Tian's right fist. That is, null flames. Su and Zhong laughed. For some reason, his heart was actually filled with anticipation. He continued, by igniting the primordial flame, the power of the physique in the body will transform into a completely new power. This power comes from the same source as the power of the physique, but it is of a higher level, more powerful, and can easily activate laws. The old power was gone, and the new power was born. Victor stretched his back and yawned. His eyes were drowsy. Let's go, the show is over. We should go back to sleep. Seriously, why are you tormenting me in the middle of the night and delaying my sleep? Can't we fight in the day? A figure suddenly appeared beside the eye of the storm like a ghost and punched the eye of the storm. Bang, like glass breaking, the eye of the storm instantly crumbled and disappeared. But only a few people present were able to acutely sense that the scales of the battle had quietly shifted. The mist dissipated, and the residence revealed its original appearance. When the two of them left, the formless pressure disappeared, and everyone who had witnessed the shocking battle suddenly became excited and started to discuss enthusiastically. She was transforming. The footsteps broke the silence once again. Tang Tian walked to the blood-bare black flag and took out the tattered black flag. And Ghost Face Mask did not say a word and left without turning back, causing Benson to be even more surprised. The tall hurricane pillar in the sky seemed to have been sucked dry and started to crumble bit by bit. Countless of clouds poured down, surging and churning. The scene was extremely spectacular and astonishing. The entire residence was buried by the clouds. All of the spectators held their breaths. The entire West Street had sunk into silence. The eye of the storm, which was as transparent as glass, floated quietly in the air. That is the primordial fire origin. Tang Tian's entire body was covered in blood, but he did not feel anything. He only felt that the roar was extremely satisfying. Something in his body broke open, and threads of transparent gray flames spewed out from the deepest parts of his body and stuck to the surface of his body. Pa. Young noble ignited the primordial fire origin? The beautiful maid asked curiously. Compared to the berserk power of the physique, the newly born power was much more peaceful and vast. It was as though there was a sea of flames in Tang Tian's body. It was pure and peaceful, yet surging and vast, and he could clearly feel the astonishing power contained within. Young noble, what's wrong? The beautiful maid could not help but ask. Ben Sen's face finally changed. Ghost Face Mask in the storm was like a wild beast. He raised his head and roared. The aura around his body suddenly surged. But when he saw the gray flames surging from Ghost Face Mask's body, his mind buzzed. He punched out. That feeling is too wonderful. The roars that filled the sky suddenly stopped in front of the roar. Who will win and who will lose? That became the biggest question in everyone's mind. As expected, the faint blue light became more and more stable in the storm. It started to release a sharp aura, as though a sword had been polished, revealing a sharp and dazzling edge. Benson revealed a bitter smile. Su and Zhong also sensed that someone had ignited the primordial fire origin in the storm, but his gaze did not leave Han Bingning. Roaring into the sky, a formless shockwave exploded out with Tang Tian as the center, and all the wind blades around him were swept away. Primordial fire origin? The beautiful maid was confused. The powerful energy in his body, the fighting intent rising to its peak, Tang Tian became even more berserk. Noticing the blue light on Han Bingning's body becoming brighter and brighter, Su and Zhong's eyes revealed a look of joy. They could not see the battle inside the storm, and did not know what was happening inside. This guy is not simple. Is he the leader of the Null Division? He thought about the Null Division prisoners, and suddenly rejoiced in his heart. The Mu-Er residents only had Han Bingning, and he was snatched away. Primordial Fire Origin. Ghost Face Mask's background is definitely not simple. Inside his body was a sea of flames. Threads of null flames surged out from his body. Victor's face suddenly revealed a look of disbelief. Previously, Ghost Face Mask had said that he was here to defeat him, causing him to be extremely cautious, and felt that the other party was plotting something. But Ghost Face Mask had clearly won, but left without saying a word, causing Benson to believe what Ghost Face Mask had said previously. Bang. Benson, who was at the top of the tower, was like a statue. He still could not believe that his gale had been broken. The beautiful maid covered her mouth and chuckled. Benson could not hold on any longer. He sat on the ground, his face as white as paper, his entire body perspiring profusely. He truly did not retreat. Powerful. He did not say anything. He only walked to Han Bingning's side and carried Han Bingning. Without turning back, their figures became blurry and then disappeared. De Lin's face changed. She was terrified. Uncle Benson, you're injured? Su and Zhong revealed a look of thought. After a moment, he turned and left. Victor's expression was filled with disbelief. Someone activated the primordial fire origin. The light aura around Han Bingning's body gradually dimmed. Like a candle in the wind, it could be extinguished at any time. Su and Zhong himself trained in the sword, and knew that the most important thing to train in the sword was willpower, to be firm and to not have any distractions. If she did not hold on, she would definitely be greatly injured. But if she was able to hold on in the storm, she would definitely be reborn. She did not give up. Tang Tian raised both of his hands and looked at the gray flames that enveloped his entire body. In the past, his null flames only enveloped his arms. A trace of understanding surfaced in his mind. The null flames were flames formed from the combustion of the power of the physique. Han Bingning, who was on the verge of collapse, upon hearing the roar, her mind suddenly became clear, and her morale was greatly boosted. Bang bang bang. Suddenly he saw two familiar figures from the corner of his eyes. It was Wei Han and Mu Zhe. Even the Qin family is unable to sit still. You're tuning in to the Wang Lin's Journey YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.